viewers, welcome to the Government Information Service Year in Review, where we look back at some of the major stories of 2023. I am Leslie Ann Johnson, and I will take you through the months January to March. Abigail McIntyre will review the months April to June. She will be followed by Rikisha St. Louis, who will review August to September. Sherry Ann Noel will review the final 3 months of the year, October to December. Following an actuarial review conducted on the National Insurance Scheme in October 2022, the Cabinet of Grenada took a decision to implement measures which included an increase in the retirement age from 60 years and a gradual increase to the contribution rate by 0.5% in the first instance. It was announced that effective February 1st, 2023, employers will pay 6.5% and employees 5.5% to the NIS. The decision was taken after government was advised following the actuarial review to implement measures that will rescue the scheme from financial failure. Social and Community Development Minister, the Honourable Philip Telesford, said the increase was critical towards generating revenue to support various aspects of the NIS, including an unemployment benefit scheme.
This move is extremely critical. We've learned from the pandemic, we've learned from 9/11 and so many other downturns that we've had in the economy, including the global recession. And so this is something that must be done. And so that is something that will take effect from the 1st of February. And a number of other pieces, including the retirement age and the gradual increase in employment contributions.
A major initiative undertaken by the government in early January was the implementation of a modern tax system that is simple, equitable, easy to administer, and afforded taxpayers the opportunity to begin on a clean slate. During presentation of the 2023 budget, it was announced by then Finance Minister, the Honourable Dickon Mitchell, that tax arrears exceeded $600 million, which severely impacted government's collection of revenue. Honourable Mitchell had also announced that effective January 2023, government will implement a 100% waiver of all interests and penalties for all arrears up to December 2021 in a tax amnesty. That is a program offered by the government that allows taxpayers to pay the principal amount on the tax without paying the interest and penalties. Randy Boy Cadet, the Deputy Comptroller at the Inland Revenue Division, explained what taxes were to be covered under the amnesty.
All taxes have been settled by the IRD. I think we have 8 or 9 different tax types. This amnesty is for each and every tax type. And property tax, value-added tax, corporate income tax, personal income tax, annual stamp tax, pay as you earn, each and every tax type.
Also in January, government announced that it was considering a few options to address the financial challenges that were being experienced by the Marketing and National Importing Board, the MNIB. When the new government came into office, the MNIB was owing about 12 million EC dollars in debt to farmers, suppliers, financial and non-financial institutions. To keep the company afloat, government had to pay workers' salaries for November and December 2022. Addressing the dire situation at the time, Prime Minister the Honourable Dickon Mitchell said creditors were knocking on government's doors demanding outstanding payments. The MNIB was owing at least 2 banks a collective sum of about $6 million and about $2.8 million to other creditors like farmers, suppliers, landlords and utility suppliers. Meetings were held with the staff and union representatives of the MNIB, where 3 main options were laid down on the way forward.
The other option is to completely close marketing board down. And the government assumes all of the liabilities I've just mentioned, which is the government then has to take over the loan approximating to $6 million to the banks, find the money to pay the severance to the staff, which give or take we are told is in the region of $2.5 or $3 million. Subject to verification, and assume the 2.8 subject to verification $1 million that is owed to other persons. The other option is to shut it down and to start afresh. And to start afresh, at least from the discussions held by the government, would involve forming a company that permits the government, the private sector, and other stakeholders to become shareholders and have a public-private partnership that allows for MNIB to come back as a new entity. The other option is to look at a restructuring or revamping of MNIB that involves potentially sending some of the staff home, closing down some of the outlets, particularly the retail outlets that sells food and juices and what have you, and attempting to get MNIB to concentrate on what perhaps people may say its core function.
The government of Grenada reintroduced the petrol tax in mid-January at a lower rate of $3.50 instead of $5.50 as was previously charged. As a result of that policy, the government was expected to forego as much as $18.8 million in revenue this year. The petrol tax was temporarily removed in September 2022 as an immediate cost of living relief measure. As a direct result, Grenada had been enjoying the lowest retail price of fuel across the OECS. The reinstatement of the petrol tax at a lower rate came at the end of the temporary measure. In addition, government harmonized the prices of gasoline, diesel, and kerosene in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique to ensure residents pay similar prices for the products. An announcement was made during the month under review that close to 500 individuals received funding under the remodeled COVID-19 Economic Stimulus Support or CES program, in which more than 6,000 applications were received. The program ended December 31st, 2022. Prime Minister Honorable Dickon Mitchell disclosed during a press conference that under the productive sector, fishing received the largest portion of grant funding of about 28%. Agriculture received 20%, and agro-processing and the creative economy also received a substantial share.
94 new businesses received funding, and 381 existing businesses received funding. So again, we were able to provide funding to at least a little under 100 persons who benefited from the program.
St. George received the largest tranche of the allocated sum with $2.9 million and St. David $1 million. Prime Minister Mitchell said the number of applications received clearly demonstrated the desire of Grenadians to become entrepreneurs.
We received over 6,000 applications for the grant program. When the reimagining of the program was conceptualized, we were looking at potentially having distributions of funding go out to about 330 persons. So we were not anticipating that we would receive as many as the 6,000 plus applications. So it was heavily oversubscribed. And that is a positive thing. We understand naturally the disappointment for the many thousands of persons who would not have benefited from the program because we were only able to date to distribute funds to 481 persons.
Also in January, it was announced that Grenada was due to benefit from the International Monetary Fund's Technical Assistance Program as it sought to strengthen its fiscal responsibility framework. Government said a stronger framework will support fiscal robustness and improve resilience to climate change and other economic shocks. Plans to improve the fiscal framework also pointed to the government's commitment to economic and social transformation in a fiscally responsible manner. The technical assistance was aimed at addressing several significant areas in need of improvement that were identified by various stakeholders, including the Fiscal Responsibility Oversight Committee. Early in the new year, the sod was turned to signal the start of restoration work at Fort George under the OECS Regional Tourism Project. The $6 million World Bank funded project was approved in 2017 and is being supervised by the Ministry of Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation. Minister Honorable Andy Williams said the project was another step towards improving Grenada's project implementation rate.
As a government, we remain committed to improving our implementation of projects, hence the early start in 2023 of this project. Locals and visitors would therefore be exposed to improved facilities and an enriched tourism project.
Tourism Minister, the Honorable Lennox Andrews, spoke of his optimism that the fort's rich history will be preserved. An MP for the Tongue of St. George, the Honorable Peter David, commended the government on its move to continue the project.
It will bring out the ideas of how we should go about restoring historical sites so as to ensure that the architectural design and that whatever history that place is famous for is restored and maintained.
We have always advocated improving our various sites around the town as tourist attractions. The Tricentennial Park, just a few meters away, the cruise ship terminal, the market square, all sites that mean a lot to our tourism industry. I look forward to working with you in this and other projects that will enhance the town of St. George.
Coming to the close of the month came the announcement that Carriacou was done to benefit from the Green Climate Fund's Enhancing Direct Access through the Lauriston Rehabilitation and Restoration Project. The EDA project seeks to build integrated resilience of communities through responsive grant and loan award mechanisms to protect against climate change. Under the $2.5 million project, mangroves will be replanted at Lauriston Point, wrecked ships will be removed, and coral reefs will be replanted, among others. Honorable Tevin Andrews, the Minister for Carriacou and PT Martinique Affairs and Local Government, explained that the project was meant to address environmental concerns of government and residents on the island.
There are some serious coastal erosions that are taking place and that are taking place throughout the length and breadth of Carriacou and PT Martinique. We are concerned and we are hoping that other organizations can partner with the government of Grenada so we can address some of those concerns that we have.
The project will be implemented from Lauriston Main Road to the point and is expected to preserve the airport, homes, wetlands, and beaches. Minister for Climate Resilience, Honorable Kieran James, said it will build the island's resilience through the implementation of mitigation and adaptation measures to counter the effects of climate change.
The main road to and from the lone airport of the island of Carriacou is located in this area. Now this road is affected by the increased wave actions, and with continued inundation of the sea, it will eventually become impassable. The Enhanced Direct Access Project is addressing these issues under the Lauriston Restoration and Rehabilitation Project.
Government announced plans during the month to roll out full digital literacy programs under its ICT digitization and transformation agenda. It involved improving the ability of Grenadians to conduct business online, market products, and work online. Minister for ICT, the Honorable Lennox Andrews, said Grenada planned to collaborate with local broadband provider Flow to make internet available to more than 1,000 families. Under what is called the JUMP program, government also decided to subsidize the cost of internet services to bridge the digital gap across the country.
Internet services can be made available to qualifying low-income households. This we see as an investment in our family to help them maintain the connections needed for work, for school, for healthcare, and others. So under the JUMP program, the intention is for our people to receive, one, affordable broadband service. We mean only $20 for 50 megabytes broadband. And we plan to target 1,500 families in the initial phase.
In addition to the affordable broadband service, free digital skills training was to be made available for all community organizations under the JUMP program, as well as low-cost computers. Minister Andrews also announced that a pilot social pay program was scheduled to commence in March under the digitization agenda. It was designed to give beneficiaries of government safety net programs quick and hassle-free access to their funds through a financial institution.
We have studied the case of St. Vincent, in which they provide such persons with a card which allow them to go to a financial institution, it could be a bank, it could be a credit union, and use that card to withdraw their monies, and they could also use that card for point of sale. So we are presently discussing with two financial institutions.
In mid-January, a handing over ceremony was held following construction of 2 new classrooms at the St. Andrews Anglican Secondary School. The project began in July 2022 and was completed in December of that year. It was funded by the government of Grenada at a cost of just over $643,000 EC. They are being utilized mainly by those in the modern language classes, since getting study areas for those proved to be a challenge. In our final story for the month, the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Fisheries and Cooperatives announced that it was identifying suitable places to set up storage containers as part of its Food Security Enhancement Project. The World Bank-funded project was expected to cost roughly $16 million. Minister for Agriculture and Lands, the Honorable Adrian Thomas, said the plan is to minimize the high level of spoilage.
We'll be starting four pilot projects in regards to storage facilities. They will be located in Maribor, one in Maribor and government properties, one in Ladig with a group of farmers who are very much interested in this. We'll be utilizing the facilities at MNIB and in River Road, and also we'll not forget our sister isle of Carriacou and Petit Martinique.
With regard to the farm machinery program, which was disbanded in 2018, an announcement was made that the program would be reinstituted under the ministry's Food Security Enhancement Project. It was instituted to offer land preparation services to farmers at a subsidized cost.
We are hoping to purchase about 8 tractors, 4 large ones and 4 small ones, 25 power tillers, and really and truly build that institution. We have already identified personnel to staff that department, and we are hoping that we'll be in time for the planting season.
The month of February began with consultations by the government of Grenada as it prepared to begin bi-monthly payment of salaries, pensions and allowances to government employees and pensioners. The first session, organized by the Ministry of Finance, was held on Friday, February 3rd, with representatives from the Grenada Bankers Association and the Grenada Cooperative League Limited, with a view to implementing on April 15, 2023. It was promised that consultations will also be held with public sector employees and their representatives, as well as representatives of private sector organizations. The consultations were geared towards ensuring the timely and seamless rollout of the policy. During the month under review, the government of Grenada began consultations with landowners as part of plans to construct and provide 500 Grenadian-style homes to families. It's being led by the ministries of Honorable Andy Williams and the Honorable Philip Telesford, and the plan is to provide houses for people of all levels of income. Minister for Housing, Honorable Philip Telesford, said there is an urgent need for affordable homes.
It takes into account those income levels, varying income levels, from low to high. So anyone should be able to request a home of their choosing, and we should be able to build it. And that is why you're here. You are here because we're asking for a partnership with you. The government of Grenada may not necessarily build homes, but we may provide the enabling environment. We may wish to partner by way of putting in infrastructural works. Those of you who may have large portions of land and wish to partner with us, we may enter into a joint venture for such a purpose.
For the Honorable Andy Williams, Minister for Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation, the project is aligned with government's vision for housing. It will also involve discussions with financial institutions to find ways to reduce the cost to borrowers.
This was a campaign promise that we made to the Grenadian people, and we are going to fulfill it. The fact that we are going to do 500 Grenadian-style affordable housing, and this is only the start.
Grenada celebrated its 49th anniversary of independence on Tuesday, February 7th, with a commitment by Prime Minister the Honorable Deacon Mitchell to transform the country into a progressive society that can provide basic necessities, grow economically, and remain on par with regional and international countries. During his maiden independence address, Prime Minister Mitchell expressed confidence that his transformative agenda is the answer that Grenada needs to move towards progress.
My government is committed to the vision for Grenada that our foreparents held. A progressive society where every individual can enjoy high quality of life with adequate access to quality healthcare and education. peaceful and safe streets, first-class housing, green energy, and a deeper appreciation for the many benefits of our fertile lands, pristine environment, and our rich culture.
These celebrations, which were held under the theme The Journey to 50, reflecting on the past, planning for the future, were held at the National Stadium.
Number 1 platoon leading. Shoulder arms.
This display signifies a salute to the nation.
We making a close some over there. National Stadium. Hear me now. Raise your glasses up to the sky. If you feel to cry, you could cry. Everybody have a bit of time. Sometime all it takes is one line. With couple real friends by your side. Man, the energy have to ride. Shed some weight, watch you take flight. Everything will be a run, go tell them. Go tell them. Run, go tell them. Somebody tell them for me, please, yeah. Run, go tell them. Go tell them. Do stop, do heal, go please, more speed. Remember enjoyment over stressing. Do stop. I'm not. Nothing I can control, I put in out that goal. Lift your glass. Raise your rifles up to the sky. If you feel to cry, you could cry. Everybody have bit of time. Sometime all it takes is one line. With couple real friends by your side. Man, the energy have to ride. Shed some weight, watch you take flight. Everything will be your run, go tell them. Go tell them. All your run, go tell them. Somebody tell them for me, please, yeah. Run, go tell them. Go tell them.
Pre-independence activities included community cleanup and decoration, sport events, the interministerial competition, and the Independence Calypso competition, where the 2022 monarch Sean Sour Serpent Niles was dethroned by Nevian Cox.
When I'm on stage, I'm bearing my heart and my soul to the judges, to the audience. I mean, I just go out there and I try to have a good time, try to enjoy myself as much as possible. Since I've started Calypso, I've seen so much of my friends my age and younger, they're coming on board, they're saying, yo, but I love this thing, I didn't even realize this is what Calypso was.
Pappy Boy placed second and Sour Serpent third. Early in February, the government of Grenada signed 3 memoranda of understanding with the Palestinian International Cooperation Agency, PICA. They were designed to initiate developmental action in various sectors to establish a mutually beneficial relationship based on the developmental agenda in peace building, communication and information, health and agriculture, among others.
This is a very auspicious moment for both of us. It shows that even people who are in the process of development, like ourselves, can and do share the little that they have with sisters and brothers. This is an example that all of us ought to follow.
That was Minister for Foreign Affairs, Trade and Export Development, the Honorable Joseph Andal. Apart from the Minister for Foreign Affairs, signatures were also affixed by Agriculture Minister, the Honorable Adrian Thomas, and Health Minister, the Honorable Jonathan Lacrette.
We are now embarking on this modernizing our agricultural industry. And we know definitely we'll be able to work hand in hand with the people of Palestine in terms of assisting us in developing that important sector. That important sector means a lot to the people of Grenada, especially when we are looking at food security, food and nutrition security, and building that process.
Part of the mandate of the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Religious Affairs is for us to bolster and also fill the skills gap in many areas in our sector, part of which being the medical area of our sector as it relates to specialist doctors. And this memorandum of understanding is going to afford us the opportunity and the ability to do just that.
Ambassador for the State of Palestine, Her Excellency Linda Sobeth Ali, said their aim was to share as much as they can with Grenada.
Today is the start of a partnership, a long partnership, a fruitful one, in a very, very important area, which is health. Specialists, training, and exchange training between here and Palestine for our doctors. Also the opportunity or the possibility of opening a training medical center or a center for the Caribbean also, where doctors will be based and move to other islands and work on our mission based in Grenada.
Also in February, directors on the boards of statutory bodies began a Directors Education and Accreditation program at the Koyaba Beach Resort as part of government's commitment to ensure that all directors are trained, certified, and accredited within a year of being appointed.
A properly governed and well-run entity requires, in the first instance, a balanced and fit-for-purpose board of directors. Such directors must understand their mandate, their roles and functions, and be equipped to execute these functions with skill and care. Let me say from the outset that equipping includes giving the boards the independence they need, free from undue and excessive political interference.
Prime Minister, the Honorable Dickon Mitchell. The Advanced Directors Training course was the first in a series of sessions that was held over the course of a few months and was facilitated by the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange and the Chartered Governance Institute of Canada. Chairman of the Citizenship by Investment Committee, Mr. Richard Duncan, said the course was designed to ensure that members of statutory boards were adequately trained to develop the requisite skill sets which would enable them to efficiently exercise the degree of professional oversight required for state-owned entities. Here are the views of some of the participants.
I think it was an excellent opportunity for us to garner the skills that we need to be effective directors on the various boards on which we serve.
I think it's a fantastic initiative. I think it's a great idea that all directors of the boards have the training to give the best value that they can for the boards that they serve on.
I do believe that this is something that will augur well for us when it comes to our governorship and policy direction in terms of each of the various boards that we serve.
An announcement was made in mid-February that the operations of the Marketing and National Importing Board, MNIB, will be dissolved over the course of the next 6 months, effective February 28th, to allow for the birth of a new entity in September. Prime Minister, the Honorable Dickon Mitchell, assured during a press conference that government would undertake the responsibility to pay severance packages to the workers whose services were to be terminated. Government also decided to assume liability for the entity's more than $12 million debt and appoint a technical working group to assist with creating the new entity. The plan was to have the board focus on operations at the River Road facility as the main hub during the transition period, and it was also responsible for the winding down of the entity from February into September.
The existing MNIB will be essentially wound down. The board will be responsible, the current board will be responsible for closing of MNIB outlets that do not need to be opened. We expect that the board will concentrate on the River Road facility and the packing house to continue servicing our farmers during the next 6 months. During that period, the board would be responsible for the management of the winding down of the MNIB operations. In addition to severing the staff and undertaking the liability to pay the staff, the government will also assume liability for the estimated $15.1 million of debt that the Marketing and National Importing Board is currently unable to pay.
The plan is for the new entity to attract public-private investment and focus on storage, logistics, preservation, distribution, and importation of food and agro-processed goods. At the close of the month of February, government paid severance and other termination benefits to all staff members at the MNIB as per the collective bargaining agreement with the Commercial and Industrial Workers Union. A sum of $2,667,892 was paid to the workers. Government also appointed a 6-member technical working group to treat with the establishment of an appropriate public-private partnership to support the sustainable growth of the agriculture sector. Its mandate was to work alongside the board of the MNIB to ensure a smooth and seamless transition to a new entity, which was due to be completed in 6 months. As the month of February drew to a close, a call was made to the head of the government of the United Kingdom to commence open dialogue on the importance of reparative justice for CARICOM citizens. During a reparation forum at the Trade Center Annex on Monday, February 27th, Prime Minister Honorable Dickon Mitchell said the conversation must start from the head and be passed on to those who are affected. The forum was held to give the Trevelyan family of the UK the opportunity to publicly apologize to Grenadians and to make a form of monetary contribution as a means of repairing the hurt caused by their ancestors who owned many estates in Grenada during the slavery period. An apology was signed by more than 100 members of the family and presented to the Honorable Prime Minister.
I want to take the opportunity to join in a public request to my fellow head of government of the United Kingdom to accept our kind invitation to commence dialogue in an open, transparent, frank, and dignified manner to talk of the need for reparative justice for the citizens of CARICOM. And to also use your good office as the convener to join with your European counterparts to address this issue with your French and Spanish counterparts in particular.
Chairman of the Grenada Reparations Committee, Ali Gill, said the apology and financial commitment from the family should serve as a call to other families, institutions, and governments in Europe to acknowledge their wrongs, apologize, and commit to repairing the harm caused by their ancestors.
Governments in the Caribbean region must do more for the struggle for reparative justice and come together using, of course, the CARICOM Reparations Commission as the vehicle through which the battle for reparatory justice is waged and must be won. Further, our governments must consistently and publicly, with one voice, call on European nations to engage in a conversation with their counterparts in the Caribbean region.
Surviving members of the Trevelyan family, led by Laura and John, apologized and called for others to do the same.
We apologize to the surviving descendants of the enslaved on those estates for the continuing impact on their daily lives, their health, and their well-being.
We urge the British government to enter into meaningful negotiations with the governments of the Caribbean in order to make appropriate reparations through CARICOM and bodies such as the Grenada National Reparations Commission.
Turning our attention now to the month of March, Attorney General and Minister for Labour, Honourable Claudette Joseph, instructed the Wages Advisory Committee, under the chairmanship of Dr. Curlin Gilchrist, to commence consultations with stakeholders to revise Grenada's minimum wage and to broaden the scope of the minimum wage order. The Wage Advisory Committee was reconstituted in September 2022 for a 3-year period. It was set up to address minimum wages in the country, which have not been reviewed in the last 11 years. The review was one of the government's priorities aligned with the National Sustainable Development Goal 2, the realization of a vibrant, dynamic, competitive economy with supporting climate and disaster resilience infrastructure. Discussions began on Wednesday, March 15th with key members from the Chamber of Industry and Commerce and the Grenada Employers Federation. A deal was signed during the month under review for more than 1,800 teachers to benefit from a 13% pay increase to be paid incrementally over the period 2023 to 2025. Government and the executive of the Grenada Union of Teachers settled on the collective agreement for salary and fringe benefits, paving the way for teachers to receive 4% increase in 2023 and 2024 and 5% in 2025. Prime Minister Honorable Dickon Mitchell, who witnessed the signing, commended GUT's President General and his team for maintaining a cordial atmosphere that ensured teachers were well represented.
I certainly always wish we can give more. And if the GDP grows, if the resources grows, then certainly the teachers and all workers have my own commitment, and I think the commitment of the government, to be as fair as we can, bearing in mind that all resources are finite. So I think the spirit in which the negotiations were conducted was critical, and I think that led to the fact that the parties could have sat around the table and negotiated and come to an agreement themselves without having to call upon the Labour Commissioner or without having to resort to any type of industrial action. And in that sense, I want to thank and praise the GUT for showing, I think, leadership within the industrial sector as to how to go about conducting its business.
Deputy Chair of the government's negotiating team, Lindonna Hilaire Marshall, was happy with the outcome, which can help to maintain a healthy industrial climate.
In our view, we thought it went extremely cordial. While we would have had some frank and, discussions, we know how negotiations can be. And so we expected all of that. And we are grateful that we come to this conclusion at the end where we would be able to meet what it is that we're obligated to. And we know fully well that both sides have the same interest. We are interested in the betterment of our workers, mindful of the fact that our workers are the valued asset to be able to realize the government's transformation agenda. So we are really eternally grateful to be at this point where we can sign our agreement. And so we just want to express thank you to the Grenada Union of Teachers, and we also want to say thanks to our team, and we look forward to us continuing our cordial relationships as we keep our industrial climate safe and happy in Grenada.
The signing marked a historic moment for members of the Grenada Union of Teachers, not only being the first union to meet and settle with government, but also having an appreciation for the duration of the negotiation process. President General Jude Bartholomew said although teachers deserved a bigger increase, the union body was happy that government moved to ensure the process was a success.
Historically, the Grenada Union of Teachers and other unions most of the times had to, march on the streets, go through the Labour Commissioner process, through mediation and other things for salary increase. And we note this time on record, or place on record here, is a historic moment that we should appreciate and recognize. We may not have gotten, and you'll never be able to get all that you really want and you hope to. But at the same time, when you come together and such, we come to a common understanding, and we think that we're at a very good place. And at this time, when the government of Grenada would have, paid pension, deduct salary, 23% for TAMCC who haven't been paid for a long period of time, and recognizing all the different things that the government is doing for workers. We just want to show some praise and appreciation to the Honorable Dickon Mitchell and his administration for really and truly giving us 13%, at this time, and we are grateful.
In the latter part of March, government officials, led by the Honorable Prime Minister, made a site visit to Calavini Estate to look at the area as a potential site for construction of a climate-smart hospital. The roughly 93-acre plot is owned by Leroy Nichols.
We wanted to get a first-hand view of the general topography of the land, the general boundary areas, and just to get a feel for what the site looks like. The site is pretty ideal. It's roughly about 93 acres. The intent is to try and acquire all of it because we think we need to make sure that we can protect the entire area within which the hospital would be located. The topography is relatively satisfactory, generally flat, which you don't have a lot of flat lands left in Grenada. And obviously it's located in Calavini, so it's very accessible. So that's one of the key things for us as well.
Grenada launched a major health revolution in March as a direct response to reducing deaths related to non-communicable diseases. As part of government's thrust to make healthcare a priority, the ministry launched its signature health event called Grenada Shifts, the first of which was held in St. David. It was staged in every parish. Prime Minister and MP for St. David, the Honourable Dickon Mitchell, supported the initiative, which started at the Bellevue playing field and ended at La Sagesse. Minister for Health and Wellness, the Honourable Jonathan Lacrette, promised that his ministry will increase awareness on lessening the incidences of non-communicable diseases.
We are serious about facing non-communicable diseases in the face and saying to it that our population will not die out from NCDs. And this afternoon, Grenadians have proven that they are going to get up, shake themselves, and do something that causes you to move towards a healthy streak in life.
The torch was passed to Honourable Lennox Andrews, signalling that the walk was being taken to St. Andrew for the second leg. An assurance was given that the implementation of fiscal measures from March 1st will not hinder projected growth for 2023. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Finance, Mike Sylvester, said the decision by government to increase value-added and excise taxes on some items and reduce on others would not obstruct revenue collection and growth projections for the year. The measures were announced by then Finance Minister Honourable Dickon Mitchell in the 2023 budget. But due to logistical concerns, some of them were delayed from January and February and implemented on March 1st. P.S. Sylvester said the intention by government was to encourage countermeasures to promote revenue generation and healthy lifestyles.
The sugary beverages and so on, we estimate that will generate about $6.4 million. Now, as I said initially, the measure is more so a health impact. And in some respect, it in other words, it's a countermeasure for the exemptions that have been provided. Because as we mentioned earlier, the government full package is about $30 million that you're basically giving up by virtue of the measures that were implemented. So with the tax on or increasing tax on sugary beverages, while it is clearly a health measure, it will generate about $6.4 million in that context. Yeah.
With regards to alcohol and cigarettes, roughly $3.4 million in additional revenue is expected. Effective March 1st, government implemented the additional 5% tax increase on sweetened beverages, but drinks containing 100% natural fruit and vegetable juices and those sweetened with honey were exempted from the additional tax. A boost for intra-regional travel with the launch of the Inter-Caribbean Airways new ATR 42 service on the Grenada to Barbados route. Prime Minister Honourable Dickon Mitchell has been a strong voice in the region, championing a change in regional travel to boost tourism and improve connectivity. He said Grenada's partnership with Inter-Caribbean is the start to correcting the problem.
So I'm happy that I can get to Barbados today and get back today. Not so long ago, that was a routine, normal expectation that you could leave Grenada, get to Trinidad and back, leave Grenada, get to Barbados and back in a day. St. Vincent, St. Lucia similarly.
Honourable Dennis Cornwall, who was at the time Minister for Civil Aviation, was happy that regional travel was being made easier.
It's very welcoming to have another aircraft that is going to be much more comfortable in terms of foot space and the environment around you, to be part of the service that would be continuing the leg between Grenada and Barbados. I know that route has been a very critical route for us over time because most of us who would have gone to Barbados for interviews to get our visa would have relied on that early morning flight to Barbados. And we've had some challenges. We do hope that we are now across that bridge where we can create a better environment for everyone.
The Mount Kuma Road was officially opened to the public during the month under review following renovation to the structure from October 2021. The $15 million project included the construction of more than 3,200 feet of asphalt road. It is an important alternative route to connect the Northwest and Western Corridor.
This work was pivotal for the state to accommodate the challenges faced by the Molyneux land slippage, as mentioned by Minister of MIT, and divert the traffic with a much better measure of ease. The work started under the former administration, and we must be thankful for the effort. While we encountered unforeseen challenges, as the new MP, I ensured that I supported the Ministry of Works and government by extension on all of its interventions.
That was Honorable Ron Redhead, MP for St. George Northeast. More than 60 people were employed on the project. In early March, government, through the Ministry of Housing, announced that a committee set up by Cabinet was reviewing the distribution of low-income housing units in Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Minister for Housing, the Honorable Philip Telesford, said this was necessary to ensure that a fair and transparent distribution process was upheld. The committee planned to consider all applicants, including those who applied but were not issued letters by the previous administration.
There was a Cabinet Select Committee that was used for the distribution of those units. That committee was not involved in the process. That's for the early distribution prior to the general elections held in June last year. As a result of that, the committee has decided that they would consider all applicants.
In light of this, the letters of acceptance that were delivered to applicants were deemed null and void.
We recognize that the initial process that was done for the distribution of those housing units up to the process of the letter distribution, that process was flawed. And so they must now reset the process to ensure that people are treated equitably and that there is no political interference.
That's a look at the months January to March 2023. I hand you over to my colleague Abigail McIntyre, who will focus on April to June.
Thank you, Leslie-Ann. Looking at the second quarter of this year, I am Abigail McIntyre. The biggest story of April 2023 was the start of the payment of personal emoluments or salaries to public officers on April 14th, 2023, marking the fulfillment of a campaign promise by the Dickon Mitchell-led administration. This was one of the many measures implemented by the government to ease the financial burden of its employees. Consultations were held with union representatives, financial institutions, and public officers to gain feedback and garner support before implementation. Prime Minister Honorable Dickon Mitchell believed this would be extremely beneficial to workers.
We are satisfied that such a policy approach is in fact supportive of our workers in particular, because what it allows is for you to have, in a far shorter period of time, ready access to your salaries to meet the several financial commitments that you have. We are also satisfied that there are certain advantages, for example, that can come with that by, in fact, for example, for employees who have loans, the faster you pay your loans off is the more interest you save, and it puts you in a better position, in fact, to be able to address other financial commitments. And in general, it helps with the management of one's cash flow. And cash flow is critical towards personal finances. It's critical as well towards economic activity within the island.
I feel good because working for 30 days is a long time before you get money. So that's after the month, I could be able to do more things because money will come faster.
In early April, the Dickon Mitchell-led administration made its first change in ministerial portfolios. The Honorable Prime Minister added the Ministry of Infrastructure and Physical Development, Public Utilities, Civil Aviation, and Transportation to his other responsibilities of National Security, Home Affairs, Public Administration, Information, and Disaster Management. The portfolio of Minister for Finance was given to the Honorable Dennis Cornwall. Prime Minister Mitchell said a cabinet reshuffle is not unique to his administration, and he will continue to give each minister an opportunity to serve in various ministries.
Both Minister Cornwall and I look forward to learning our new ministries, to working with the PSs and staff at the ministries to continue to deliver on our transformation agenda and on the many projects and plans that each ministry is required to carry out. All ministers, and I think senior management, would in fact be subject to review, and we collectively would be subject to asking ourselves, how can we better improve and manage the performance of the government? And part of that also involves giving ministers the opportunity to experience, handle, and manage different portfolios. As you are well aware, no minister currently sitting in the government has ever been a minister before. And we think it is absolutely crucial from as early as possible to give our ministers, including myself, including Minister Cornwall, and others, the opportunity, if the need arises and if there's an opportunity to do so, to be able to be cross-trained and to cross-learn the various ministries that we functioning.
Grenada gave a good showing at the 50th Carifta Games during the month of April, securing 7 medals at the Games in the Bahamas. A 27-member team represented Grenada. They were commended for their performance during a welcome ceremony at the Morris Bishop International Airport.
This was one of the things that government was keen to ensure that we invested in you so that you can do some of those direct work. And you have demonstrated from the start, going into the Carifta, that you had the capacity, you had the talent, and once you applied yourself, each and every one of you could be winners in Grenada's eyes.
Minister of State with responsibility for youth, sports and culture, Honorable Ron Redhead. Grenadian swimmers also gave a good account of themselves at the 36th Aquatic Championships in Curacao. The 10-member team returned with 3 medals, 1 silver and 2 bronze. A major fire at Grenlec's facility in Boucherville, carriacou resulted in the total disruption of electricity on the island in April. Honorable Lennox Andrews, who was acting as Prime Minister at the time, immediately went to the Sister Isle, accompanied by Honorable Andy Williams, other ministry members, as well as representatives from the RGPF and NADMA. It resulted in a closure of all schools for the day. Following an initial assessment, Grenlec reported that all 4 engines sustained damage, 2 more than the others. The investigative, planning, and design phase of the public library restoration process began in the month of April 2023. For more than a decade, the public library remained unutilized with its closure in May 2011. There has been an increased call from Grenadians living at home and abroad since its closure, asking that the public library be restored. The Dickon Mitchell-led administration has answered that call. During the 2023 budget presentation, which was read by Prime Minister Mitchell in 2022, an announcement was made of an $800,000 budget towards the public library modernization project. During a site visit to the library in April, Minister for Education, Youth, Sports and Culture, Senator the Honorable David Andrews, said the goal of this government is to protect its national treasures, which includes the public library.
I think the impact of reopening the library will be great. It signals that we are serious about education, and indeed this government has prioritized education, healthcare and education as 2 of the top priorities, and it signals that we are serious about finding a space where once more students can pursue their educational undertakings, their studies, their research, their SBAs. We are quite prepared to make the necessary adjustments, consult appropriately to make sure the modifications that need to take place are accounted for in the designs.
The sword was turned during the month under review to signal the start of work to rehabilitate the farm access road in the Granton farming area. The $2.2 million project was expected to improve access to agricultural lands in the area, a stepping stone towards improving agricultural production. The rehabilitation of this road was done through the Climate Smart Agriculture and Rural Enterprise Program. President of the Northeast Farmers Organization, Evans Goodings, explained that the project will help them to capitalize on investments made on their farms. These include the installation of solar-powered water pumps and procurement of irrigation equipment made possible through the Caribbean Aquaterrestrials, or CATS, project in 2019.
This road here, ladies and gentlemen, and to the head table, would help to unlock acres of climate-smart agriculture as part of our solution. So not only the farmers from this area will benefit, but we'll show you one thing that will happen also, that my farm up here, once that road is finished, and I will say never, be turned into housing. But my fund will be access to feed the nation and for agriculture and for the nation.
Parliamentary Representative for St. George Northeast, the Honourable Ron Redhead, implored the farmers to use this unique advancement as an opportunity to put more local food on the table.
I want to charge the community of Granton to see this as an opportunity now to go into a different level of the agriculture, the tertiary level. We now have access to these lands. We need to unlock the potential. The Minister of Agriculture always says that we must produce more. This is an opportunity for us to produce more. We need to seize these moments and ensure that in the final analysis, whenever we talk about agriculture, we do not only talk about opening the farm roads, but we also talk about the access that it provided to help enhance agro-processing, agribusiness, and other elements that can enhance the agricultural sector.
Grenada hosted for the first time its premier cultural and creative industries conference at Radisson, dubbed Unleash, which brought together creative minds to chart the way forward for the lucrative industry. The conference included keynote speeches, panel discussions, workshops and networking opportunities, and also showcased the work of local artists and designers in an effort to highlight the potential of the creative industries in Grenada. During the 2022 election campaign, it was a promise by the now NDC government to place emphasis on people-centered transformation, which includes the development of local creatives. Prime Minister Honorable Dickon Mitchell told those in attendance that this was the beginning of a new era for innovation in Grenada.
There will be a cross-fertilization of ideas, and many creative flowers will bloom. New thinking will be embraced, and hopefully we will walk away from these 3 days of conferencing richer in spirit and united in how we should pursue advancement of this important pillar in the transformation of Grenada. Government, through a regime of concessions and other incentives, as well as training programs and other forms of institutional support, will invest in you. This country, your country, Grenada, will invest its tax dollars in you, but you will have an obligation to give Grenada a return on its investment. In other words, we ask that you work with us because we are working with you.
Some of the participants expressed feelings of hope, optimism, and pride that more is being done to give the industry the exposure it needs to thrive.
It's about time. Something like this, I'm a creative. And the struggle, the frustration, the anxiety, everything, this is about time. Enough times I hear, oh, youths here, the future, dream big, etc. But something like this, the institutionalized, to add structure, systematical structure to we creatives in Grenada. The world has left, the world is going. Grenada, I like to say, is in the Middle Ages. So what I'm hearing is hope.
I think this conference is a big deal. It's a massive, massive deal that could really take us places. I'm looking forward to the aspect of education, especially education, because I think you need education for us to level it up and then get people to really appreciate what we have, appreciate our God-given talent. So I'm looking forward to what will come about as a result of this.
The government of Grenada, through its negotiating team, led the way in renewing agreements with several unions for wage and salary increases. During the month of May, collective bargaining agreements were signed, first for gazetted officers and Police Welfare Association of the Royal Grenada Police Force, and secondly, for the Grenada Manual Maritime and Intellectual Workers Union, representing a large portion of public officers, including workers under the school feeding program, Laura and Mount Rule estates. Following several rounds of discussions, both negotiating teams agreed to a 9% salary increase for the period January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2025, and an increase of 4% in 2024 and 5% in 2025.
myself and the entire RGPF negotiating team, we were very satisfied with all of the negotiations. Yes, there were times during our discussions there was issues that we had to trash out, but I think so. You, with your skillful navigation, and obviously from our team, definitely we sought the best interests of all parties concerned. Again, for the second time, I believe in our history in the RGPF, both the Welfare Association and the gazetted officers came together collectively to seek the best interests of all constituents, of all the officers of the RGPF.
Member of the RGPF negotiating team, ACP Randy Connett, President General of the Grenada Manual, Maritime and Intellectual Workers Union, Oscar Williams, said the team is satisfied with the outcome since an increase, especially for some of the cooks, was long overdue.
It wasn't easy, but at least we reached at this point. And one of the main things I want to highlight is that I want to congratulate the GNT team for during the negotiations, we were able to get, I think it's nearly 30% for grade 2 cooks. Understand me? I think the salary went up very high, understand me? And we feel very good about that, understand me? I know the cooks will be very pleased about that, and we want to, highlight this issue because it was in the pipeline for years, and finally the grade 2 cook's salary has gone up very high.
The IMF mission chief for Grenada, Ms. Hudan Lin, has commended this country for efficiently implementing relief measures that have dampened the effects of external shocks. Ms. Lin spoke to the mission's findings during the final week of May as the IMF concluded surveillance of Grenada's economy as part of its Article 4 consultation. It is regarded as the economic health check of a country. Consultations focused on strengthening the fiscal framework, safeguarding financial stability, and enhancing competitiveness as well as building resilience. The IMF mission chief said Grenada continues to weather the effects of the pandemic and other shocks, with real GDP projected to grow at a slower pace of 3.9% in 2023.
Fiscal relief measures introduced in the past year have helped dampen the price increase pressures from higher global prices. Without these measures, the price increases would have been stronger. The economy is continuing to grow and the recovery is taking hold. Real GDP is estimated to have expanded by 6.4% last year. Construction and tourism rebounded strongly. However, there was a sharp fall in the agricultural production due largely to bad weather. The fiscal balance, excluding interest payments, is estimated to have maintained a surplus of around 2.6% of GDP.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Finance, Mike Sylvester, says Grenada was pleased with the positive outcome of the consultation and looks forward to implementing the recommendations geared towards maintaining a sustainable economy.
We are happy that, on balance, the report is very positive. It means that Grenada continues to do well since the last Article 4 consultation, which was conducted about a year ago. We welcome the positive assessment of the recent macroeconomic developments, outlook, and risks, and that we broadly concur with the assessment and recommendations, and that we look forward to continue to work with the IMF and other development partners.
A significant political moment in the lower house of Parliament happened in May this year when Parliamentary Representative for St. Andrew Northwest, the Honourable Delma Thomas, crossed the floor to join Prime Minister Honourable Dickon Mitchell and the National Democratic Congress as their newest member of the party. This move came a few short weeks after Honourable Thomas served opposition leader of the NNP, Dr. Keith Mitchell, with a letter of resignation citing months of unrest within the party.
Mr. Speaker, this morning I make the decision
to live on a side where I am no longer welcome at the table. Mr. Speaker, today I cross the floor in my new season, where I continue to represent the people of St. Andrew Northwest. I continue to represent Grenada.
Prime Minister Honorable Dickon Mitchell said there had been no decision to assign a ministerial portfolio to Honorable Thomas, but will rely heavily on her experience and expertise in advancing the transformation agenda of government and his party.
Having someone who, when I call an elder, I only mean an elder in the context of having been in this much longer than us, I think is one way that it would certainly help us. But on a pure community government side, though, I think having been in the cabinet, having obviously had the experience of policies that the prior administration implemented, she is perhaps in the most objective position to assess what worked, what didn't work, and also to assess her own performance and to give us guidance as to what she thinks will work, what may not work, to ensure we avoid pitfalls in terms of any likely mistakes that we may make. But I also think on a more national level, and I'm not saying this simply because she has joined the National Democratic Congress and is now sitting on our side of the House. We do have to move past the tribalism that plagues us in our country. And that's fueled by, I think, an overzealousness for politics, or the wrong type of politics. There's nothing wrong with competitive politics. There's nothing wrong with electoral politics. But when the elections are over, we have to be able to move past the zealousness and sometimes enthusiasm and energy that comes with an election, and then talk about how do we improve the country for particularly those persons who are worse off. And I think if you've heard her personal story, I think she's uniquely placed to provide assistance in particularly those areas.
Grenada joined Anguilla, Suriname, and Sabah as the fourth country in the region to successfully implement the phased rollout of e-testing for the Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment (CPEA) examinations at selected schools. 40 students wrote their examinations online in the May 2023 examination. The schools selected were Mount Pleasant Government in Carriacou, Mount Morris Anglican in St. George, and Mount Rose SDA Primary in St. Patrick. 1,877 students wrote the exams. Some of the students spoke with GIS News about the experience.
It was much easier because I don't have to had to shade off any question. I just had to turn back and click the answer if I wanted to choose the next answer.
It was much better. It was good. It was easier to select your answers.
It was very good. I was very nervous at first, but then when I started doing it, I was really flabbergasted, I might say, because it was really easy. So it was really good doing the CPE on the paper, on the computer.
I was nervous at first because I didn't get quite sure what I was going to do. Then people come to help us, and I feel so happy because the computer make me finish more quicker. And if it was a paper, I would have been inside right now.
Cade Dikoto, ICT officer in the Ministry of Education, outlined the process leading up to this moment.
First of all, you have to determine if the students have the digital skill set to do the exam online. Right? Because we are starting from scratch, we had to do an assessment with all the schools that were selected to determine their digital skills. Right? Once the schools pass that stage, then we start with the training. And of course, after this training, the district IT officers reported that the students took the training very easy. Do you know why? They are digital natives, so they were doing the exam online and navigating the platform very, very easy.
On Wednesday, 3rd May 2023, Grenada made history in the agriculture sector by making its first shipment of mangoes to the United States in about 20 years. Over 4,000 pounds of the freshly picked mangoes was shipped to the U.S. by well-known trafficker Patrick King, following an assessment by and issuance of his phytosanitary certificate by the Pest Management Unit of the Ministry of Agriculture. Pest Management Officer Thaddeus Peters said prior to the first shipment of mangoes, field visits were conducted in the parish of St. Andrew to determine which areas are suitable for purchasing mangoes.
It would have involved making application to the U.S. for to reconsider or redo a pest risk analysis. Back in 2017, the U.S. would have granted permission to golden apples, and one of the pests was the fruit fly infestation. And we made application, and they did the risk analysis and indicated that they will allow the fruits based on some treatment, So we had the options of heat treatment or irradiation. So their option was to allow it based on irradiation, and they have granted it only for commercial shipments. So I just want to reiterate, passenger travel does not qualify for mango shipment to the US. It's only commercial shipments that have made arrangements with a facility to have it treated before it goes into the US market. So we'd have provided background information, included, the estimated quantities we might export, the time of the year we're likely to export, what are the prevailing pests we have on mangoes. We would have forwarded all that information that would have gone into the risk analysis. And now we had to also review the work plan that was prepared and sign off on the agreement.
On June 23, 2023, Prime Minister Honorable Dickon Mitchell and his cabinet of ministers celebrated their first anniversary in office. He said, looking back, his administration must be commended for initiating the level of transformation it has done in the past year. During a national address, the Grenadian leader highlighted several achievements of his government. He said from the onset, the administration faced criticism that its ambitions and aspirations were too high and possibly unattainable, but they remained resolute and to date can boast that many sectors have realized significant change. Prime Minister Mitchell listed the payment of retroactive pension and gratuity pumped approximately $75 million into the economy. The payment of docked salaries to teachers to the tune of $1.2 million to 1,721 teachers and other public servants. A $500 per month honorarium to nurses for 1 year, signing of salary and wage increase agreements with bargaining entities, the provision of 506 micro, small, and medium enterprises grants of up to a maximum of $30,000, totaling $8.3 million. The rise in the implementation rate of projects and programs to 87% under the Ministry of Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation. The move to pay bi-monthly salaries transformed the public service and regularized the status of workers. According to Honorable Mitchell, through government's renewed vision to increase investment, Grenada has been able to attract more local and foreign investors. To date, government can boast of an 89% increase in revenue earned from the Citizenship by Investment program compared with the same period in 2022. During the month under review, the National Insurance Board proposed that government urgently address the quick depletion of its reserves by implementing key measures that can save the scheme in the not-too-distant future. Director of the National Insurance Scheme, Dorset Cromwell, alerted the nation on the dire state of the institution and noted that Grenada urgently needed to increase the pension age from 60 to 65 years and the contribution rate from 12 to 16% from 2024 to 2031 in order to save the scheme. He said the recommendations have been on the table for years following various annual actuary reviews, However, they were never acted upon by governments in the past. Over the years, NIS has been faced with the issue of paying benefits that are greater than the total contributions received, leaving the institution to break deposits to make payments. Cromwell said at the time that the Social Security change is not unique to Grenada and is now a matter of national urgency.
We must increase the pensionable age as a matter of national urgency. So the pensionable age, we have proposed to the government of Grenada to increase the pensionable age from 60 to 65 over the period 2024 to 2029. Of course, you have the option to take your pension early, always at 60, at any age you so desire, but there is a small adjustment if you take it before the required age. We must also increase the contribution rate, because the monies that we've collected, you heard it from the Honorable Minister, and I also spoke to it, the monies that we are collecting now is not sufficient to cover expenditure on a month-to-month basis. We are breaking term deposits left, right, and center to cover our expenditure, and that is not sustainable. We have proposed to the government that between 2024 and 2031, we increase the contribution rate from where it is now 12% to 16%. 0.5% increase every year, split equally between employee and employer.
Minister for Social and Community Development, Honorable Philip Tellisford, underscored the significance of the NIS to economic development. He too was concerned about the scheme making benefit payments annually that are greater than the total contributions received.
The NIS is extremely important for the survival of many Grenadians. And for future generations, the NIS must be preserved. The NIS has to periodically break deposits to pay benefits. Again, this is not sustainable. We could have hardworking and efficient staff at the NIS. We could have great operating systems and brilliant practices. We could have a brilliant management team and a first-class board of directors with an eye for detail. But if government fails to make the legislative changes, the NIS will come crumbling down in a few short years.
1,500 Grenadian households were down to benefit from internet connectivity from the newly launched JUMP program, made possible by Flow Grenada with the support and collaboration of the Government of Grenada and the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission. The program will ensure internet connectivity to improve access to education in disadvantaged homes. Flow Grenada's country manager, Lincoln Batiste, said that no one should be left behind, regardless of status or income.
Persons who qualify for the program will be offered affordable home internet for just $20 a month. To each of these families, we will also be providing a free laptop. As connectivity obviously requires an access device. To truly bridge the digital divide, we must equip our fellow Grenadians with the skills and knowledge to utilize these digital tools effectively. Through free digital literacy training, which is a part of this program, we will empower individuals with the necessary expertise to navigate the online world safely, responsibly, and confidently.
Minister for ICT, the Honorable Lennox Andrew, is happy that more families can have the advantage of internet connectivity and looks forward to the expansion of the program where more families will be added to the list.
Together, we can pool our time, our talent, and our treasure to maximize the impact of this initiative and extend its reach to as many deserving families as possible. Though initially set at 1,500, 1,500, as I was saying to your countryman a while ago, we hope we can move that number to as high as 3,000.
Residents of St. Mark were given a brand new medical station with added services they can utilize during the month of June. The commissioning of the St. Mark Medical Station was a major achievement for the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Religious Affairs under the year in review. The new facility means they no longer have to travel to neighboring parishes St. John and St. Patrick or even St. George's for medical care. The medical station was officially recommissioned on May 10, 2023. Minister for Health, Wellness and Religious Affairs, Senator the Honorable Gayton Lacrette, declared that government will do all it can to ensure residents are afforded quality healthcare facilities across the state.
With our vision to become the healthcare capital of the Eastern Caribbean, our staff is pleased that we have begun the smarting of our medical stations while simultaneously building our primary healthcare human resource infrastructure. We are cognizant of the fact that we have a long, and I'm going to emphasize the long, way to go in the restoration of our nation's health services to the benefit of touching every life in every community. My staff and I remain committed in a relentless pursuit to building Grenada's healthcare sector, brick by brick, doctor by doctor, nurse by nurse, vaccine by vaccine, partnership by partnership, and community by community. St. Mark, you are blessed to have improved health services, and we trust that the entire community will see the marked improvement in the physical health of its residents.
The Ministry of Education took the bold step in June to ensure that the 1,858 students who sat the external component of CPEA 2023 examination were all assigned to a secondary school. It assured that the remaining 17 who were absent would be supported to sit the assessment in 2024. The results of the 2023 examination were released during the week of June 12th. However, they did not include positions according to performance, a decision that Education Minister Senator the Honorable David Andrew had announced earlier that month.
Not only will you have no rankings and no scores, but this year, 2023, every child will be placed in a secondary school. The Ministry of Education is guided by pieces of legislation in the Education Act. And in fact, Section 161 of the Education Act, 161 subsection 5 of the Education Act says it guards against the publishing of assessment results in a manner that highlights individual students and teachers. In fact, it specifically reads, the minister may publish the results of assessments together with a commentary on them by the Chief Education Officer, but not so as to identify individual students or teachers. There is a section of the Act, Section 23, subsection 7, which deals with student records and reports. It says a student's records is privileged information for the use of the institution and of the Ministry of Education officials in the performance of their functions, and is not available to any other person or institution without the written permission of the parent, or if the student is 18 years or older, the student.
That was a look at the months of April to June. I am Abigail McIntyre. Rikisha St. Louis will take you through a review of the third quarter of 2023, the months July to September. Thank you, Abigail. Looking at the months of July, August, and September, I am Rikisha St. Louis. On July 14, 2023, Grenada signed the terms of reference for the carriacou 2.0 project, which supports strategies by the U.S. Agency for International Development to reduce youth involvement in crime and violence. The project will also focus on strengthening efforts aimed at countering the trafficking of persons in the Caribbean. The signing by permanent secretaries and heads of departments came following a series of consultations throughout the island. With Grenada having successfully implemented carriacou 1.0, its focus is now on the follow-up project, which will employ a multi-pronged human rights-based approach to improve national capacities to use evidence-based approaches to identify the root causes of youth crime. Ms. Carlin McQuilkin, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, assured that the USAID program has the full support of the Grenada government, being aligned with its transformation agenda.
This project is taking place at a very opportune time as youth crime and violence is spiraling in our society today. The government of Grenada is pleased that this project is directly aligned to its transformational agenda. The outputs will further promote government's digitalization thrust, specifically as it relates to the development of the digitized crime information management system. Government has given its full commitment in ensuring that the goals and objectives of this project are achieved.
The project officially began in April 2022 and will run until April 2026. Some significant changes were made by the National Insurance Scheme to its self-employment benefits as part of its mandate to better serve the self-employed community. The change in regulations comes following several rounds of consultations and is in addition to several amendments being made by the scheme following recommendations from an actuarial review.
Employed person said, listen to me, you're treating us like employers. We don't earn on a monthly basis. We earn when the money comes. So allow us to pay when the money comes. They also said you have deadlines for us, so we have surcharge and interest to pay when we pay late, but we don't know when we're going to earn. So why are you charging us surcharge and interest? Because we don't know when the money would come in. They also stated that some of us, we are sometimes employees. Why can't we pay both so we can get a better benefit?
NIS Public Relations Officer Lisa Douglas. Effective July 1st, self-employed individuals were no longer required to pay late fees surcharge and can make contributions whenever money is available. Contributions between $769 and $7,180 qualify for all benefits.
You pay when you earn. So right now, what we do, we set targets. So there's a minimum of 769 and a maximum of 7,180.
Right.
So any amount within that range, you can decide to pay. So you set your target, and you can pay that amount whenever you earn it. So if your earnings are 4 times for the year, you pay 4 times for the year. If you have one big peak period, you pay when you have that one big peak period. And what we would do now is to convert what you pay into insurable earnings, that is salary and contribution weeks. And once you contribute this year, you're automatically qualified for benefit the next year. If you pay under the minimum of 769, it doesn't cover you for all the benefits. You would only be covered for the long-term benefits, as the pensions, survivors, invalidity, age benefit. But once you pay more than 769 annually, you're covered for everything. So if you get sick, you're covered for sickness benefit. If you get pregnant, you're covered for your maternity grant and your maternity allowance. If you get injured in the job, and employment injuries and interesting benefit. From the first day you get registered and you contribute, you're covered, right? And we pay for the period you're off on injury leave. We cover all your medical expenses.
Also in July, the Grenada Development Bank approved and disbursed more than $1 million for Output 4 of the Green Climate Fund Finance Enhanced Direct Access project for the Eastern Caribbean. The project is piloted in 4 Caribbean countries and was launched in Grenada in 2022. Output 4 captures the Climate Adaptation Revolving Fund for vulnerable properties such as households and MSMEs. Properties that are vulnerable to climate change can benefit from a maximum of $200,000 EC loan at an interest rate of 2% and other concessionary terms. Chriselle Benjamin Jerome is the communications officer at the Grenada Development Bank.
That loan would allow them to remedy climate risk in their properties. And when we speak about properties, we're speaking about buildings in particular. All in all, the revolving fund for climate adaptation is to ensure that your property can withstand a Category 3 hurricane at least. So with that fund, you will be able to undertake projects such as, or that relates to, renewable energy, energy efficiency, structural adjustment. So we're speaking about if you're having problem with your roof or flooring, pillars, that kind of things. If it is that you may need some form of vector and health control, such as window screens, door screens, septic tank systems, water management. Maybe you would like to install water tanks depending on your location. If it is that you are plagued with frequent water interruptions or simply would like to get into rainwater harvesting, if you want to go ahead and implement, or I should say construct a cistern at your home, you can look at the EDA for that fund.
Benjamin Jerome said a vulnerability criteria is in place for applicants and must be met for eligibility. These include being a home or business owner and being employed, among others. One of the major decisions taken by CARICOM heads of government when they met in July 2023 was that all CARICOM nationals could be allowed to move freely by March 2024, going beyond the current CARICOM Single Market and Economy CSME regime of free movement of agreed categories of skilled nationals. CARICOM Chair Dominica's Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit confirmed that heads took that decision to seek to have the free movement of all categories of people to live and work.
Obviously, there are some legal issues that we have to examine, and we are giving the legal people some months to examine those legal issues and to ensure that we can come to us by 30th of March to take a definitive position on this. And so we understand that there'll be some challenges for some, but we are committed to this. In addition to the free movement, that there will be certain contingent rights that will be associated with the free movement of people. Access to primary health care and emergency health care. Access to basic education, pre-primary, primary, and secondary education. Of course, we have this Social Security agreement in place already that people can benefit from. But we believe this is a fundamental part of the integration architecture. And at 50, we could not leave Trinidad and Tobago and not speak about the core of the integration movement, that is people's ability to move freely within the Caribbean community. And I think we would have served, and we have served the community well at this meeting by arriving at that decision. And we hope that to see that it will be implemented by the 30th of March, 2024.
Guyana will host the 46th regular meeting of the conference in the last week of February 2024. To ensure that they have a better appreciation for projects and programs aligned with the priority focus areas of the Deacon Mitchell administration, senior government officials toured a number of project sites during the month under review. It was a senior management board meeting with a difference, as it removed the permanent secretaries and other senior management officers from the usual enclosed space and brought them outdoors. The group visited the General Hospital and Phase 2 of the facility, Worcester Hall Secondary School and St. David's RC, Simone Cultural Center, the Grenville Bus Terminal, and the Maribor Propagation Station. Secretary to the Cabinet, Ms. Carvel-Lett, told GIS the tour was meant to help senior officials make more informed decisions in relation to projects and programs.
Allow board members to observe the different agencies, projects and programs and to provide feedback for their work. And it helps us to understand the links between the government's priorities and the work of the ministry on a national development, or the whole of government perspective. We discussed the impact and the results of the program. And so to do this, we decided we're going to go around the island. We're going to look at each project. It gave us a mental break in terms of we are now feeling a little better, and they are now appreciative of all the government projects that we actually got a chance to look at. And so at the end of the day, we are able to now make better decisions because we are informed.
With the opening of the Belle Isle Community Center in July, residents of the community in St. David have the opportunity to engage in skills development and training. The refurbished facility was officially opened in the presence of Parliamentary Representative Honorable Deacon Mitchell and Chinese Ambassador His Excellency Wei Hon-Shen. It is equipped with a computer room, washroom, kitchenette, office space, meeting or conference area, and storage. The refurbishment was a campaign promise by Honorable Deacon Mitchell, who collaborated with the Chinese Embassy, the Roman Catholic Church, and other local stakeholders to renovate the existing structure, which was damaged during Hurricane Ivan in 2004 and has since been used as storage. Residents are happy that it can now be used to positively enhance the community.
I feel very excited about the opening of the community center because I heard the Prime Minister said that there will be sewing machines, and recently I'm learning how to sew and stuff so I can make some good clothes. And my cousins and them, they know how to play on computers, they know a lot about computers, so I guess they'll feel excited because they could play with the computers.
It has been a long-awaited initiative, and we are so happy that the government could have seen it fit to take on the initiative of refurbishing the community center. I think it's going to be a real addition in terms of education, where we are going to host many different programs for our community members, especially our youths, so that we can nurture them into being the people that they ought to be. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity for the people of the community to make every opportunity that is given to them by the refurbishment of the group, especially our younger ones. The group that is formed in the community has pledged to make sure that the maintenance of the building is adhered to 100%. We want to make sure that we have laws instituted so that we can counteract any vandalization by any member of the community or any outsider. And so we're going to make sure that this building is being maintained, because it's a gift that was given to us by the Chinese government together in collaboration with the Grenada government. So we don't want it to go to waste. We want to make sure that we take every opportunity to make sure that we maintain 100%.
Honorable Deacon Mitchell, who is also the MP for St. David, encouraged the community members to use the facility to develop and harness skills and create a culture of togetherness.
It is an opportunity for you to use this building to enhance your community spirit, to enhance your skill set, to ensure that our young persons have a place where they can come to learn anything. And I say anything because if you have access to the internet, you can become anything you wish to be. And the transformation of this building is simply symbolic that if you set a goal, and if you work towards it, and if you speak to people and you ask for help, and we work together, that we can achieve anything. Use the facility to ensure that you can enhance the community of Bay Isle. This is just the start. There is more to come. And therefore, I want you to show us your gratitude by making sure that when we come back here 1 year from now, we have the sewing machines, we have the computers, people are learning skills, people are using the facility to talk, to socialize, to help solve community issues. We have had a very sad and dark period in the last 2 weeks, unprecedented in the history of Grenada. If you have a dispute with your neighbor, invite him to come to the community center. There are 50 chairs, sit down. Sit down and talk out your dispute. Talk out whatever the challenge is and find common solutions to them. You don't need to resort to the cutlass. You don't need to resort to the piece of wood, and you don't need to resort to cussing. You have a place to come, to sit down, and to have a conversation.
Turning our attention to the month of August, the government of Grenada signed an agreement with the Royal Grenada Police Force and the Bank and General Workers Union for fringe benefits and salary increases for January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2025. Labour Commissioner Mrs. Sparkle Grenade Courtney ratified a collective agreement with the RGPF's negotiating team for fringe benefits in the second round of negotiation. The RGPF negotiating team is an amalgamation of associations representing police officers within the Gazetted Officers Association and the Police Welfare Association. In the months prior, the teams also signed a memorandum of understanding for salary increases for the same period. The Labour Commissioner also ratified a memorandum of understanding with the Bank and General Workers Union for an increases in salaries or wages for agriculture workers within the bargaining unit at the Bolong Propagating Station, supervisors at Mount Rule Estate, and for daily paid employees at Maribor Farm and those posted to Granbury Estate. Honorable Philip Telesford, who at the time spoke in his capacity as acting Prime Minister, outlined the government's position on maintaining cordial relations with union workers and employers.
These agreements are very important for a harmonious working relationship between employees and employers, and for our government and our nation to move forward, we must have a harmonious working relationship. We continue to implore upon all to speak, to negotiate, to have commonality of purpose, and this is how we will take the country forward.
Deputy Chair of the Government Negotiating Team, Lindona Hilaire Marshall, commended the teams on concluding a historic agreement.
Because we've not been able to sign fringe benefits for a while, and we are extremely pleased with the government for agreeing with the request to consider fringe benefits after it not being on the table for quite a while. So I think this is a significant thing that it benefits all workers, and we look forward to continuing with the process. As Mr. Mitchell mentioned, we are still in negotiations with their union for their fringe benefits package. So we are committed to the process, and we certainly will continue to do all we can, because we often believe that we have the same interest. We are on the government negotiating side as well as the unions. Our interest really is the improvement of the working conditions of our workers. And we believe once our workers are comfortable and they're taken care of, they are better equipped to do more so that they can add value to contributing to the nation building. 5 communities are now connected following the official opening of a pedestrian bridge in Mount William during the month under review. The bridge was opened in the presence of Parliamentary Representative Honorable Joseph Andal and the People's Republic of China Ambassador to Grenada, His Excellency Wei Hongxian. Honorable Joseph Andal said the pedestrian bridge is the start to development in the area. He outlined his plans for Mount William.
My dream eventually is for a motorable bridge across the river However, we must know that Rome was not built in a day, and sometimes we have to start with the smaller, more immediate, more easily achievable things, and then move on to the bigger ones when time and resources permit. Ambassador Way spoke about the potential for tourism here. One of the things that I discovered during my campaign trip was this abandoned sugar mill. I took several photographs and made a couple of videos and even posted them on Facebook a couple of years ago, talking about the potential for tourism development. Because we have to move away from the concept of tourism being grandstands, big hotels, and white sandy beaches. Different people come to Grenada for different reasons, and we have to give them more reasons to want to come here, stay here, and leave with the memories, but leave the dollars behind. So, now that I have tracked down the owner of the property there, the next step to bring some life into this area will be finding ways to rehabilitate that ruined sugar mill and to find the necessary funding to restore it and to create a tourism attraction site that can generate employment and income for the people of this and surrounding communities.
Residents of the small village are happy that after several decades, they no longer have to fear the swollen river following heavy rains. Community member Coslin Andel thanked government and China for not neglecting the community.
My parents and many other folks who are not with us today to witness this novel transformation are smiling with a striking sense of gratitude and relief. Because this pathway allows that no longer and no more our children, our mothers, our grandmothers, our elderly folks will have to risk being washed away by heavy rains when this river overflows its bank on a yearly basis.
Grenada copped 4 scholarships for the academic year 2023-2024 under the Chevening Scholarships Scheme, which is a global scholarship program of the British government awarded to exceptional individuals with leadership potential. The program enables recipients to study one-year master's courses in a range of subjects at UK universities. Michelle Alexander is currently pursuing a master's degree in Innovation, Creativity and Leadership at City, University of London, Danish Harvard and LLM in Law, Employment, Work and Equality at University of Bristol, Cherise Noel, a degree in International Litigation and Dispute Resolution at City, University of London, and Yusuf Stafford, a master's in Development Economics at University of Sussex. The scholarships are funded by the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office and aim to support UK foreign policy priorities by creating lasting positive relationships with future leaders, influencers, and decision makers. The largest propagation station of the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Fisheries and Cooperatives at Maribo is now home to a new composting facility that will be used as a demonstration site to encourage the technique and edify the farming community about this sustainable practice. It will also help to reduce the cost of preparation of plants annually.
This is a flexible small grants program through which the Australian government supports development projects that contribute to sustainable economic growth and poverty reduction through the Brown to Gold project developed by the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, ICA, in an effort to strengthen community composting. Chief Agronomist and Manager of the Maribo Agricultural Station, Alison Haynes, anticipates a reduction in the cost of materials, particularly potting medium for plants. She says the practice of paying thousands of dollars to prepare potting soil will be a thing of the past.
Considering that composting is such a sustainable technology that is so easy to implement on our farms. We have been wanting to produce sufficient compost Well, compost in sufficient quantities that we can use in our medium, potting medium for the plants. And with this shed, we may just be able to do so. We have so far procured some cows. If you look here, we have some cattle. We get a pen manure. And we have been, this is the way we want to go. We want to be able to produce our own compost to include in our potting medium. We spend thousands of dollars every year purchasing the compost and the pen manure for farmers.
The start of August brought with it the traditional Emancipation Day celebrations, which honor the contributions made by our ancestors. The build-up to the 1st of August included weeks of activities by various community-based and non-governmental organizations and cultural organizations. Culture Minister Honorable Ron Redhead, Chairman of the Reparations Committee, CEO of the Cultural Foundation, drummers and others marched to Melville Street for a brief ceremony.
This journey to liberation is described by the persistent determination of men and women who bravely challenged the status quo and determined that their justice was important, determined that their freedom was important, which is our freedom today. It stood on the belief that regardless of our race or creed, you are a human being and deserve to be treated with respect and have the right to achieve social and economic progress.
Chairman of the Grenada Reparations Committee, Ali Gill, warned that the significance of Emancipation Day cannot be allowed to dwindle since our ancestors fought tirelessly for our freedom.
Did you know 550 slave ships came to Grenada and brought in 129,000 enslaved Africans? Did you know? And that is why, sisters and brothers, our Africanness, our blackness, the fact that those who came before us fought and won their freedom, not by some European abolitionists, but because they fought every day, they resisted every day for our freedom. It cannot be that 189 years on that we believe that we are so far removed from slavery that we believe that wearing African clothing and commemorating the fact of the freedom of our ancestors, that they are not worthy to be praised. And I just want to honor our ancestors.
Grenada experiences an influx of visitors annually for its biggest cultural festival, which takes place the week following the country's emancipation celebrations. Some of the major winners of the Spice Mass 2023 are Terra the Governor, who won the Power Soca Monarch competition, Boise the Groovy Monarch, Robulus and Temptress joined road match winners, the Nexa New Dimension Still Orchestra, Amonai Francis, the 2023 Carnival Queen, and Rootsman Kelly, the 2023 Calypso Monarch. CEO of the Spice Mass, Cecil Noel, in his first year at the helm of the corporation, said the 2023 festival was a resounding success with record-breaking participation and spectator attendance numbers. This is expected to continue as they work towards making Spice Mass a better product, with plans already in motion for 2024. Tourism officials and government have marketed Grenada's carnival as one of the safest, hence many journeyed to witness and participate in the uniqueness of the Spice Mass experience.
From all indication, Spice Mass 2023 has been a resounding success. As we consider what happened from the preliminary stages all the way up to the finals, we have seen steady increases in terms of number of attendants, but significantly on the onset of Spice Mass, there was some measuring, characteristics, if I may put it that way, that we put in place that we would be able to judge the success of Spice Mass 2023 from.
He explained that the success of the festival is as a result of many changes that were made, including boosting the traditional mass, which was held in St. Mark and saw participation from 21 bands.
It was our intention to ensure that the events, all of the events, start on time and run in a timely manner. And the truth is that for most, that is exactly what happened, with the exception, and I would specifically mention it, of the Kiddies Carnival. And if we are to evaluate what happened then, it was because of the overwhelming interest shown that we in fact saw increased numbers in the number of bands that participated in the Children's Carnival Frolic, as well as the number of junior calypsonians that came forward and really wanted to be a part of the event. One of the other measurement sticks that we had was to see increased number of attendance at the various events. And again, from start to finish, starting with the Children's Carnival Frolic on the 5th, going into the Queen Show, the Calypso finals, the Soca, that's the Power and Groovy Soca finals, and Panorama. All of these we saw increased attendances for these events. So again, that was a second measuring stick which we were very happy with. So all in all, and there were other indicators that we want to judge ourselves by at Spice Mars, but from all indication, as I said before, it has been a resounding success. We saw what happened on the road. There were people who felt that there's no way we could have Monday Night March run as it did. Yes, there's still some areas, or there are some areas that we need to consider and work on, but we are already putting plans in place for 2024, and the whole expectation is that it will be an improved product and it will be better delivered to all of Grenada and all who show interest in Spice Mars.
In a post-carnival briefing, the Royal Grenada Police Force commended the public for a relatively incident-free season.
There were hardly any incidents or issues relating to crime and violence, specifically relating to the carnival. We believe that you, the general public, significantly bought into the conversation that we had with regard to offensive weapon, with regards to misbehavior. And let me take this opportunity to congratulate our youthful population. Sometimes we leave them out of the conversation, but we did send that message out and ask our young men in particular to leave the knives and cutlasses at home. And that was very evident. Though we had a significant increase in the number of patrons on the street and at events, what we did recognize, and we did increase our searches, but what we recognize is that there was a significant reduction in the amount of weapons that were found. That tells us that we had significant buy-in from the general public, and in particular our youthful population, in understanding the importance of leaving weapons at home and the non-engagement in violence. So the RGPF, thank you. We are on the way to continued success as it relates to our youthful population and our general population buying into what the police force is advertising to you. And we thank you for this.
ACP John Mitchell in charge of operations. In the month of September, the government of Grenada highlighted 13 focus areas for development within various sectors of the economy at the ceremonial opening of the second session of the 11th Parliament. Governor General Her Excellency Dame Cecile Grenada, who outlined government's plans for 2024 and beyond, outlined priority areas like citizen safety and national security, restoring public service integrity, housing and community development, education, energy transition, and environmental sustainability, and the creative industry, among others.
To further transform the education landscape, my government will prioritize the review and amendment of the Education Act to increase the school leaving age to 18, the implementation of the TVET policy and strategy, the launch of the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate CSEC reimbursement program, the student loan scheme, the amendments to the early childhood and special education needs policies, among other areas. In this session of Parliament, my government will continue to emphasize transformative strategies for youth empowerment, including in the area of youth engagement, education and skills development, digital literacy, culture and creative industries, employment and entrepreneurship support. The focus of this session of Parliament will be to further strengthen human resource capacity and primary healthcare systems and advance the new hospital and health insurance projects. Our focus in this session of Parliament will be on consolidating these gains, including accelerating the implementation of the Food Security Enhancement Project to provide direct benefits to farmers and fisher folk, and by extension, our nation. My government will establish 3 animal breeding centers at Laura St. David, Maribor St. Andrew, and Limlair carriacou. Additional cold storage facilities, commercial ice machines, and training in safety at sea will be provided to our fisherfolk. My government reaffirms its commitment to the development of a robust ICT and digital economy to keep Grenada abreast with the rest of the region and indeed the world in the conduct and ease of doing business. To this end, significant progress has already been made in advancing this agenda. Looking ahead, my government will continue to invest heavily in building a robust digital economy, focusing on data protection and cybersecurity, education and training, digital inclusion, e-government, and job creation.
Government announced plans during the month to develop what it referred to as a hope-centered public service through the regularization of public officers through to 2025. In 2013, a structural adjustment influenced a pause in hiring on the permanent establishment, which resulted in significant disparities among workers within the service. From a concluded analysis of the workers, approximately 300 workers were acting or on assignment, and 2,000 were engaged in other modes. During a press conference that was broadcast live on the Government Information Service, Permanent Secretary in the Department of Public Administration, Lindona Hilaire Marshall, said a regularization strategic framework was developed and approved through the cabinet. She said many were already confirmed in their positions.
The first phase, we would look at persons in acting, temporary, on assignment, and probationary status on the establishment. And as we mentioned, that process has already started. The second phase, which would look at persons holding PSC contract of service, daily paid, and persons holding ministry letters. That phase we trust we would be able to advance through in 2024. And then we're going to be in a position to start looking at the third phase, which would look at people who are holding contracts for service, as well as the Imani trainees.
An oversight committee chaired by the Cabinet Secretary, Ms. Carvel-Lett, will advise the strategic direction of the exercise. Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell said the regularization exercise needs partnership to succeed.
I want to start by reiterating the government's commitment to taking on what is undoubtedly a complex and difficult task. It is easy to run away from things that you didn't create. And clearly, we've inherited the situation, and as so ably contextualized by P.S. Marshall, this goes back at the earliest to 2013. This obviously is going to be rolled out over a period of time. There's a lot of work we have to undertake to make this successful. And I'm emphasizing we, because the government, without partnership from the unions, without partnership from the employees who are impacted, without partnership from the public, without partnership from the government as a whole, will not be able to make this a success. I want to emphasize here that the goal is to improve the overall well-being of the workers, not to make it worse, or not to leave it in the current status quo.
The regularization exercise does not cover workers engaged on contracts for service, those associated with projects or third-party engagements. Grenada hosted a major climate change conference during the month, which was designed to find solutions to some of the challenges faced by small island developing states. The second Caribbean SIDS high-level dialogue on climate change, which was held at the Radisson Beach Resort, provided an opportunity to collectively identify and advance the most urgent needs of the Caribbean region on 6 themes. 2 of the thematic areas were strengthening resilience and achieving prosperity in the face of increasing climate change impacts, boosting adaptation and addressing loss and damage, financing the transition to renewable energy in the Caribbean. Delegates made it clear that the time had come for member countries to collectively move toward building resilience to promote a safer future for generations to come. Minister for Climate Resilience, the Environment and Renewable Energy, Honorable Karine James, challenged the heads of government and other experts to collectively develop a blueprint for action for small island developing states to ensure that they can survive the effects of climate change.
We are here today and tomorrow to set a narrative of action, concrete steps, and an urgent clarion call for the heart of leadership in small island developing states. The existential threat of climate change looms large, but so does our collective will to combat it. As we approach COP28 in Expo City, Dubai, let us remember that our unity is our strength. And I would reiterate that. Our unity is our strength. We must speak with one voice, a voice resonant with the urgency that science demands and the empathy that our people deserve. Our discussions over the next 2 days are not academic exercises, but a strategic blueprint for action, a narrative that must move from rhetoric to tangible outcomes. Our agenda is both ambitious and necessary, covering everything from climate finance and renewable energy to resilience and adaptation strategies.
Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Honorable Philip Davis, remained optimistic that all is not lost for the region and SIDS in the fight against climate change. He also called on member countries to work together for the shared purpose and outcomes.
To further the interests of the Caribbean, which are much the same as small island developing states in the Pacific and the Indian Oceans, we must speak as one region, united by clear ideas and a common purpose. We may operate in different geopolitical contexts, but we all lie in the same hurricane alley. We all rely, to a certain extent, on the tourist economy, and we all share common strands of a beautiful island culture that's under threat. Let us use this occasion to marry our voices to make ourselves heard. I pushed for this regular meeting on the UN calendar because I strongly believe that the Caribbean can accomplish anything it sets its mind to. The time has come to double down on our efforts, to tell these developed nations to write the check, as they have kicked the can down the road for far too long. We cannot leave COP28 without the first pledge of funding being identified. This is no minor undertaking. But if they are the big tree, we are the small axe.
Delegates agreed that the way forward included public education and awareness programming to raise national population awareness of the implications of climate change and the policies and actions which were needed to respond to climate change. It was also agreed that a regional platform should be created to share good practices from the region. Government confirmed the purchase of 83.9 acres of land in Calavini, St. George, which will be the site for the construction and operation of Grenada's climate-smart new teaching hospital project. That announcement was made by Governor General Dame Cecile Lagrenade when she delivered the throne speech at the ceremonial state opening of the second session of the 11th Parliament in September. During an interview with the Government Information Service following the throne speech, Minister for Health, Wellness and Religious Affairs Senator the Honorable Jonathan Lacrette expressed hope that this could begin by 2027.
Whenever you're talking about health sector modernization, you have to talk about a brand new climate smart, climate resilient teaching hospital. especially as it relates to the improvement of services in the clinical industry. So I believe that we are in the final stages of negotiations and thereafter payment so that we can move forward with our plans. I believe that the country will see at least the construction of the first phase during this term of the brand new climate smart, climate resilient hospitals.
The government of Grenada fulfilled a promise to ease the financial burden of education for students at NULO and TAMCC with the launch of the free tuition policy. Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell described it as an investment in the youth of the country who will help to shape the future of Grenada. Government allocated $2.5 million for the policy that is open to citizens of Grenada or those with permanent resident status. During a meeting of the House of Representatives during the month under review, Minister for Education, Senator the Honorable David Andrew, disclosed that the free tuition policy was also to be extended to the 3-year pharmacology program at TAMCC. While the cost for tuition was to be absorbed by the government, students are required to pay for ID cards, registration, and other deliverables.
This policy is one where the government will pay the tuition fees associated with study at TAMCC or NULO, right, or any other approved center in time. And so we know that the $810 annual fee that was payable at the T.A. Marisho Community College, that fee will be absorbed through this government's free tuition policy. Further, that same fee will be applied to persons pursuing studies at NULO. So I know it will cover the tuition part of NULO fees, but it will be an excess that will be applied to some of the other fees. So we want to make it clear, we are not saying there are no other fees. You may have to pay registration fees, you may have to pay T-shirts and other deliverables that you may get, the identification badge. We're not interfering with that at this point, but we are happy to bear the load of the $810 tuition fee, $810 tuition fee. We are very, very happy to do that.
In other news on education, Grenadian historian and author Dr. Nicole Philip Dow officially launched her new history book in September 2023. The 256-page Collins Junior History of Grenada summarizes the country's rich history, ensuring that the young have a better understanding of the events that define their identity. The book is now part of the school's curriculum for students at upper primary and lower secondary levels. The author says it is gratifying to be able to contribute to the preservation of Grenada's history.
It is indeed my honor and extreme pleasure to write the story of our ancestors for the benefit of our youth. This pioneering work has been a labor of love, not without its challenges, but through perseverance, or stick-to-itiveness, as I like to call it, this goal has become a reality. The launching of this textbook happens in a season of celebration. The launch forms part of the University of the West Indies' 75th anniversary celebrations under the theme, Rooted, Ready, and Rising. We are rooted in our rich Caribbean heritage, ready to meet the challenges, and rising to new opportunities and pathways to lifelong learning. This launch also forms part of Grenada's celebration of its 50th anniversary of independence.
Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell received an autographed copy of the book from Dr. Dow. He said her passion for history exhibits dedication to educating others.
I'm extremely privileged to be part of this event which celebrates the dedicated work of a great Grenadian historian. And even without the book, I dare say that Dr. Dow is well known as one of our most reputed and famous historians. This book will prove to be a portal to our celebrated past and a window to a bright future. Our students will now gain knowledge on Grenada's rich history in print form, and I hope also in electronic form, which will further enrich the teaching in our upper primary and lower secondary classrooms. And I do believe the book will become a medium for sparking thoughtful conversations and discussions, both in and out of our classrooms.
Travel between Grenada, Carriacou, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines is now so much easier with the launch of the 19-seater Twin Otter aircraft in September. It will operate on Mondays, Tuesdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. The flight schedule has been strategically designed to cater to the needs of both business and leisure travelers. This ensures that travelers or passengers have a wide range of options to suit their travel plans. The possibility of introducing a daily service is being considered. Government understands the importance of providing affordable travel options without compromising on quality, and as such, the Twin Otter's flight route offers competitive pricing. One-way fare Grenada to Carriacou is EC $186.30, and a return fare is EC $372.60. Because the Grenada Twin Otter is part of a combined fleet, whenever there are special events, major festivals, and holidays, additional aircraft can be added to deal with the demand during these busy periods. The Ministry of Agriculture, Lands, Fisheries and Cooperatives, Fisheries Division, received a valuable tool to help manage Grenada's persistent sargassum seaweed problem, which has plagued the island since 2011. An over 20-foot-long boat, along with essential materials, equipment, and spare parts, was made possible through a generous donation from the government and people of Japan as part of the Japan Grant Aid for the Economic and Social Development Program for Grenada. The $2.3 million project will ensure that the issue is managed effectively.
When the sargassum is within our shores, the fishermen cannot go out to sea. The lines get entangled, the engines get fouled, and it's a severe cost in terms of the operation, not only from the equipment, but also from the lost fishing days. Also within the coastal areas, especially on the East Coast, you have the Marquis, the Soubise, the Grand Bacolet, and those areas, and where it is heavily inundated. It's causing a lot of problems for villagers along the shores in terms of the household equipments, fridge, stove, stereo equipments and other things like that. So that would bring a huge relief to the local community, fishermen, tourism sector, and persons residing along the coastline.
Chief Fisheries Officer and Technical Expert Justin Rennie. That was a look at the months of July to September. I am Rikisha St. Louis. Sherry and Noel will wrap up our year in review with a look at the months of October to December.
Thank you, Rikisha. A historic moment for Grenada with the inaugural commemoration of October 19th as National Heroes Day, which Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell believes is the best date to reflect on the past and chart the way forward toward a brighter and more prosperous future. Prime Minister Mitchell said no date is more fitting to help us restore hope, rekindle, reflect, and move forward more inclusive and united.
This is a recognition of the bridge we need to create between the past and the future. We could have chosen any other day to make it National Heroes Day. So the question is, why the 19th of October? Or the question is, why not the 19th of October? Who are our heroes? What makes someone a hero? If not the ultimate sacrifice of your life for the people you serve, the people you love, and the country that you represent. So I stand here to thank the people of Grenada for giving me and this government the opportunity to recognize that there is no more fitting day than the 19th of October to recognize our national heroes. And it is all of our national heroes. What more fitting day than 19th October to commemorate to reflect upon, to rekindle, to rebuild, and to restore hope, so that we go into the next 50 years of our independence, that we go forward as a gentler, kinder, more tolerant, more inclusive, more united country.
Dr. Terence Marichaud, member of the October 19th Martyrs Foundation, commended the government for finally doing what is right to honor and recognize the sacrifices of those who served.
One thing I've learned about struggle over the years is that if you have a cause that is noble and just and are willing to make the necessary sacrifice to see it through, no matter how difficult or how long it takes, it will eventually happen. In this regard, I would like to thank Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell and his administration for doing what no other government has done before. By doing what is right, by making this day a reality, and for listening to the cries of the people over the years, that this is a day that should be recognized because of its transcendental importance in our history.
The inaugural ceremony was attended by several, including Governor General, Her Excellency Dame Cecile La Grenade, Ministers of Cabinet, and other specially invited guests. Among them was Mrs. Angela Bishop, the wife of former Prime Minister Maurice Bishop, and former Press Secretary Don Rojas. They both remembered former Prime Minister Bishop as an extraordinary leader whose love for country surpassed all else.
40 years have passed, but the impact remains. It is a sad day for our people, our country, and many throughout the world. The influence of Maurice Bishop and our other fallen heroes and the Grenadian Revolution itself reached far and wide. His commitment to his country and his beloved people shone brightly until the end. Today we acknowledge Maurice Bishop as one of the heroes of Grenada, along with all the others who shared his commitment, his dedication, and his love for Grenada and our people. Thank you again, Mr. Prime Minister Mitchell, for this honor and the opportunity to share some remarks in remembrance of Maurice, my late husband.
Bishop was an extraordinary human being, a global figure admired and respected by millions of people around the world. He was not merely a charismatic, handsome person, but he was a highly intelligent individual, a man of principle, a man of dignity, a man with generosity of spirit, not a person who was drunk on power, not a person who chased after pomp and glory as so many political leaders do these days. In the final analysis, Bishop was a man who served his country well and who articulated a powerful and inspiring vision, a vision that would attempt to empower the Grenadian people in this post-independence and post-colonial era of its history.
Friend of Maurice Bishop, David Abdullah, called for more to be done to incorporate Grenadian and Caribbean history in the education system so that the occurrences of October 19th and other significant dates can forever be etched in the minds of future generations.
One of the great challenges that we have
because we must always remember that if we don't know where we have come from, we'll be lost and not know where we have to go. And therefore, we as Caribbean people and those who have responsibility for our governance have to refashion fundamentally our education system right throughout the Caribbean, so that all the heroes and heroines of our region and all of our history, which was a history of ordinary working people, of labor, fighting to come out of slavery through indention up to freedom, that history is taught and understood and appreciated.
A candlelight vigil was also held on the carriage on October 19th. On October 25th, an ecumenical service of thanksgiving was held at the Blessed Sacrament Church, Grenada. It was attended by Her Excellency Dame Cecile La Grenade, Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell, and members of his cabinet, Leader of His Majesty's Opposition, Dr. Keith Mitchell, members of the Diplomatic Corps, and Conference of Churches of Grenada. Grenadians are eagerly anticipating all that lies ahead, with Grenada now on the road to celebrate its 50th anniversary of independence. And with the events that are being planned, many in the diaspora are expected to return for this significant occasion, which was officially launched on the carriage on Tuesday, October 31st. Dr. Wendy Crawford, chairperson of the National Organizing Committee, highlighted activities for the year-long 50th anniversary, including National Colors Day, Parade, Vigil, Beautification, Calypso Monarch, Governor General's Gala, among others.
Together, we are on a journey towards a destiny of unity, peace, tolerance, prosperity, and social justice for all. We are mindful that there will always be obstacles to overcome on that journey, but we are fearless, focused, and unafraid of challenges.
Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell made a call for renewed vision and unity as the country journeys toward its Golden Jubilee on February 7, 2024. Prime Minister Mitchell said the changes made today as a country will be remembered by and will benefit generations to come. He emphasized that now is the time to reset and rethink to shape the next 50 years of Grenada's future.
This is our journey. This is our people. And we are doing this for our future. Together, united, stronger, going up, 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 going up, 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 going up, 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 up. That the future of Grenada is yours. And it is a future that we will continue to fight for, but not fight with each other. A future that will allow us to disagree, but not sink to disunity. A future that will give every child, regardless of whether they're born in Brunswick in Carriacou, or Leicester, or Belle Isle, or La Poterie, or Pearls, or Guankai, that the future of Grenada belongs to you, and that you have the ability, just like Kirani James, to rise from Gulftown and to shake the planet on the biggest sporting stage and make every Grenadian tremble with pride at your amazing accomplishment.
The launch saw cultural and entertainment performances as well as firework display. A new procedure was identified by the Housing Authority of Grenada for the distribution of the second phase of the China Grenada low-income houses. During the month under review, Chairman of the Housing Authority of Grenada, Hugh Thomas, highlighted that the value of the houses has increased as a result of the upgrade, and as a result, successful candidates were required to acquire a loan to obtain the houses.
We are asking people to do one of two things. Come, if you have the full amount, you could come to the Housing Authority and buy straight from the Housing Authority. If you don't, then you will need a loan from any of the financial institutions. The Housing Authority of Grenada contacted the financial institutions before, and they are on board, and they're eager and they're willing they are going to be offering loans. We had suggested at 3%, and it will go from maybe between 3 and 5%. But we really got the assurance from some that they would stick to the 3%. The cost of a single one-bedroom unit is $55,000. And the cost of a single two-bedroom unit is $73,000.
The one-bedroom unit is being sold at $55,000, while the market price is $141,251. And the two-bedroom unit is being sold for $73,000. However, the market price is $204,734. Mr. Thomas said government has given an additional 5% markdown for the cost of the houses.
Although the apartment is they are paying $55,000 and $73,000, it has been marked down by 55%. The government has marked it down by 55%. In the previous phase one, the information getting to us is that it was marked down by 50%. So the government has marked it down even further, and from what we have seen inside the apartment, it is actually built better. For instance, there is a concrete roof on top of the buildings, and on top of the concrete roofs, you have the alu zinc. And there are many other features.
The houses are located at the Villa St. Patrick, Diamond St. Mark, Corin St. David, Bushes St. George, and Dumfries in Carriacou. Still with contributions from the People's Republic of China, Minister for Carriacou and Petite Martinique Affairs, Honorable Tevin Andrews, received on behalf of the government of Grenada a check from Charge of the Affairs from the People's Republic of China, Mr. Peng Wei-lin, who reiterated the government and people of China's commitment to assist Grenada wherever necessary.
As you know, Grenada suffers heavy rains and other natural disasters from time to time. As Chinese embassy diplomats, we live here and work here, and we feel it real. So we think it's our duty to help Grenadians, and our commitment to make contributions to Grenadian people is strong.
Minister Andrews commended China for its donation, which he said will go a long way toward enhancing the island's resilience in the face of disasters.
We really appreciate the support. I think it's the first of its kind to us from the embassy, and certainly we look forward for further cooperation to assist in many other efforts. So we do note the contributions from the people and government of China, from our low-income housing in Carriacou, donations of laptops before, and of course all the other things that you have given. And of course this donation today sends a strong message in your efforts in trying to assist us with managing our disaster management efforts.
News came in November that the government had successfully refinanced approximately $5 million of debt owed by the Marketing and National Importing Board to a local commercial bank. The terms of the new arrangement included consolidating all outstanding principal balances of debts owed by the MNIB at an interest rate of 4.0% to be repaid over a period of 10 years, and an interest-free loan for all outstanding interest to date to be paid over 10 years. The terms represent a significant improvement compared with the previous conditions applied to MNIB facilities at the bank. Specifically, the current interest rates stand at 6.5% and 7%. This major accomplishment not only halts a further accumulation of arrears, but also strengthens government's ability to successfully reform the MNIB by removing the lien on Pack House property located at River Road, St. George. Furthermore, the Cabinet has approved the payment of all outstanding claims to unsecured creditors, including farmers and agro-processors, to the tune of $2.5 million. Grenada stands to benefit significantly in the health and other areas following the visit by Honorable Joseph Andel, Minister for Foreign Affairs, Trade and Export Development, to the People's Republic of China, the UN mission, and his participation in the inaugural Canada-CARICOM Summit between August and November. Honorable Andel said while in the People's Republic of China, the National Agency for International Development and Cooperation gave him an audience where health was the main focus.
With our proposed teaching hospital,
being high on the agenda. China is willing to provide technical and financial support, whether it be in the form of concessionary financing or grant or a combination of thereof, towards our teaching hospital upon submission of proposals to them. They're also quite keen to assist in the training of doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals, considering that having a building is not sufficient to say that you have a teaching hospital.
At the inaugural Canada CARICOM Summit from October 17 to 19 in Ottawa, the main focus was on trade and investment in sectors such as financial services, clean technology, ICT, and the management of natural resources.
We pressed for that, and they have agreed to establish technical teams on our end and their end to conduct the negotiations, which hopefully will lead to the elimination of the visa requirement for Grenadian citizens wishful of traveling to Canada. We also made an appeal for on-island processing of visa applications, because as we all know, it is quite expensive and inconvenient to have to travel to neighboring islands to complete the application process and to do the biometrics. And we also have asked that the visits for biometrics be done more frequently pending a resolution of the visa issue.
The inaugural CARICOM Saudi Arabia Summit, which was held in Saudi Arabia, will create some direct positive impacts for Grenada. That's according to Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell, who joined his CARICOM colleagues at the summit. Prime Minister Mitchell said an engagement with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia was deep and fruitful, and his delegation was also fortunate to participate in several bilateral engagements with senior members of the Saudi Arabian government.
The first was with the Minister of Investment. We held also with the Minister for Environment and Agriculture, the Minister for Transport and Logistics, and the Minister for Health. The team accompanying me, which included the Minister for Foreign Affairs, the Deputy Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Finance, the Consul General of Grenada in Dubai, and 3 advisors, had the opportunity to tour 3 hospitals in Saudi Arabia. 1 hospital operated by InterHealth Canada, the 2nd hospital being the King Saud Hospital, and the 3rd and perhaps most interesting hospital was the Saudi Arabian Virtual Hospital.
Prime Minister Mitchell also shared on his meeting with Member of Parliament in the UK, Minister David Rutley, who is responsible for the Americas and the Caribbean. They discussed issues of mutual importance at the bilateral level between Grenada and the United Kingdom.
They included, for example, the UK SIF program. The UK SIF program is the UK's grant funding program, and as you may be aware, that was the program by which Grenada had the opportunity to get grant funding for the Western Main Road, as well as the Southern Water Management Project. You may recall that there was quite a lot of talk about that funding being lost. The part of the funding that was lost was in relation to the Western Main Road, and we have secured the funding in relation to the Southern Water Project. That project is expected to commence in earnest shortly. The project is designed essentially to bring water to the southern part of the island by removing or replacing the old pipe infrastructure that currently exists with new ones. It should start more or less from the Sendell Tunnel and extend all the way down to the Grand Dance area. So we wanted to take the opportunity to thank the UK government for its support in that regard.
A mission to Grenada by the International Monetary Fund in November concluded that this country's economy continues to grow robustly and is expected to surpass its pre-pandemic level in 2023. The mission team, led by Mr. Jane Hooker, met with the authorities to discuss recent economic developments and follow up on the policy priorities raised during the 2023 Article 4 consultation. Mr. Hooker also said that growth has been driven by continued strength in construction and a sustained increase in tourist arrivals, in part due to successful efforts to improve ALIF. He added that record revenues from the Citizenship by Investment program have supported both public and private investment, and at the same time, headline inflation remains low. The report also stated that the near-term fiscal outlook has improved with recent strong revenue performance, and this reflects the buoyant economic activity as well as a surge in government CBI revenue, which is anticipated to normalize after the current backlog of CBI applications is cleared. The report also noted that the Grenadian financial sector remains stable and liquid, and bank credit growth has increased with greater demand for construction and durable consumer goods loans. The first quarter of 2024 promises to be a very exciting one for Grenada. Apart from the activities to be staged for this country's 50th anniversary of independence, Grenada is also preparing to stage the 51st Carriacou Games at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium from March 30th to April 1st. The Games, which will be held under the theme Many People, One Region Celebrating Athletics, was officially launched in November at the Olympic House, Montrouge.
Carriacou 2024 pledges to be a spectacular event as the world observes the talents and youthful vigor of our Caribbean athletes on the international stage. The Games in its history have long been a hotbed for some of the Caribbean's most iconic athletes, including Usain Bolt, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, and our very own Kirani James and Aline Francie, just to name a few. It is therefore an honor for Grenada to host, particularly next year, as we celebrate our 50th independence anniversary and look forward to making next year's Games an unforgettable experience of celebration of Caribbean talent, culture, and the spirit of camaraderie as we extend a very warm Grenadian welcome to athletes, coaches, and sports enthusiasts from across the Caribbean as Grenada becomes the center and focus in the region for track and field in 2024.
That was Sports Minister Honorable Ron Redhead. Cornel Francis, president of the Grenada Athletic Association, says the lessons learned from the staging of the Games in 2000 and 2016 will ensure Grenada displays high standards in 2024.
Since its inception, Grenada have been winning medals at each Games consistently. And we hosted these Games in 2000 and 2016. So this is our third attempt in hosting the Games. Today, we are delighted to share with you our state of readiness in hosting Carriacou 2024. And to give you a peek into our journey, we also take this opportunity to appeal to all potential sponsors to come on board as we prepare to make these Games an unforgettable experience.
The official theme, mascot, and logo for the Games were all officially revealed to the general public during the launch. Saturday, November 4th saw the commencement of a once-per-week JetBlue flight to the Morris Bishop International Airport direct from the Boston Logan International Airport, which marked a significant milestone in the improvement to airlift into Grenada. Minister for Tourism, Honorable Lennox Andrews, who formed part of the delegation that arrived on the inaugural flight, said recognition must be given to the local team in successfully negotiating the service. Honorable Andrews was pleased to announce that with the once-weekly flight, it means new opportunities for Grenadians in Boston and those in Grenada wishing to visit Boston.
The important point is that they all demonstrated their ability to negotiate in the best interest of our country and of our people. We also had discussions with members of social groups and institutions that have been working on behalf of Grenada in Boston. I must mention James, who's the deputy governor of the city. He's actually a Haitian, and he plans to raise the Grenada flag when independence is reached next year.
Chair of the Grenada Tourism Authority, Randall Dolan, said the inaugural flight is an extremely proud moment for all Grenadians at home and all in the diaspora, as the establishment of an additional route will mean easier, hassle-free access for those living in Boston wishing to visit.
For quite some time, a lot of anyone leaving from Boston had to connect through JFK to get to our beautiful destination. At least, I think almost 10% of the flights of the passengers heading back to JFK on JetBlue were connecting to Boston. And now we've established that bridge where we know that there is a demand, a pent-up demand for visitors from that area to travel to Grenada.
JetBlue's Director of Operations at the Boston Logan International Airport said successfully launching a new route is not an easy task and commended the government and GTA team as he says it takes a lot of hard work and dedication to finalize such details.
It's incredible, it really is incredible to think that in 23 years JetBlue has grown from a small, US-based carrier to now over 100 destinations, spanning across the United States, Caribbean, Latin America, Canada, and now Europe. And now we bring the JetBlue product from Boston to Grenada. We're thrilled to be here to celebrate this milestone, and we absolutely look forward to continuing and to provide exceptional service and low fares to our customers in Grenada. Grenada is a major tourist destination and amongst the most popular in the Caribbean, and we want to fly wherever our customers want us to fly. Grenada has everything a traveler would want in an idyllic vacation, from stunning beaches to rich cultural heritage and world-class hospitality. And adding new routes like this, it's not only important for JetBlue's long-term success, but also provides customers from Boston, between Boston and Grenada, another leisure option to visit their friends and family, which is extremely important.
The month of November saw another successful staging of the annual Investment Migration Forum, with a focus on Grenada Citizenship by Investment program. It was the fourth such staging of the program in Grenada. The importance of the CBI program to the Grenadian economy was highlighted by Managing Director of Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited, Larry Lawrence.
We all understand and agree that the Investment Migration Program is a major contributor to Grenada's economy, one which has been steadily increasing over the years. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no doubt about the role of the Investment Migration Program and what it plays in our economy, one which will enable us to execute several meaningful projects for the benefits of the people of Grenada.
The forum is an undertaking by the Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited and the Citizenship by Investment Unit. Health continues to be a major priority for the Deacon Mitchell administration. During the month under review, Honorable Jonathan Lacret, Minister for Health and Wellness, concluded a tour of several healthcare facilities around the island, accompanied by senior managers in the ministry. The objective was to assess the challenges faced in the sector with a plan to finding the best solutions to deal with them. He said to tackle the wider issues, there must be attention to what is happening at the community level.
When you get to the management level, you tend to get a bit comfortable. And I didn't want the management to get comfortable. I wanted to ensure that even the medical director of hospital services, etc., the CMO is usually out in the community, as well as the senior medical officer for primary health care and chronic disease, etc. But when you bring the entire management out, I believe that everybody receives a greater appreciation for what the nurses face and what they go through on a daily basis. And also the patients, when they come to the clinics, what are some of the challenges that they have, so that we can see how we can remedy these challenges for 2024 one by one. There are some general things that we can certainly get done, but I believe that the assessment and analysis that we are conducting right now is extremely important as we come to the final stages of our budget consultation as well, so that we know how we're budgeting, why we're budgeting, especially for the retrofitting and reconstruction of some of the medical stations and the smarting of those medical stations as well, so that you can make life comfortable for the clinicians as well as the patients.
2024 to 2027 have been marked as the years for health sector modernization, with some strategic plans in place to ensure that the modernization takes place incrementally. In other health news, 26 nurses and midwives were certified in the area of nursing technology of maternal health following the conclusion of a theoretical hands-on 3-week training course on neonatal, preterm and maternal care held at the General Hospital. The course was facilitated by health experts from the Houghton Children's Hospital from the People's Republic of China. Topics included the identification of critical illness, pregnancy and neonatal period, pediatric and neonatal pulmonary resuscitation, and caring for preterm newborns. Work is scheduled to begin early in the new year to construct a new building for the Grenada Christian Academy Secondary School. Government, through the Ministry of Education, signed a $27.4 million contract in November for the construction of the Grenada Christian Academy Secondary School in Pearl St. Andrew in 2024. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education is Alphys Moraine.
We need everyone on board. So it's good this morning we have procurement, we have MIT, will help with the monitoring, we have the contractor, we have the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Infrastructure, who have had excellent relationship for the last few months trying to get things going. Yes, and we look forward to the salt-telling ceremony in maybe a matter of days, or a couple of weeks, maybe to do that, right?
Desmond John spoke on behalf of the joint venture of Kitchener and Sunrise Construction Company, Inc., which won the bid to construct the school.
Pulling our resources together and winning this bid is really a tremendous achievement, not only for our companies, but the employees that we have currently and those we will employ from the area of Pearls. At the maximum point, there will be at least 150 to 175 people employed on that job. That include direct labor, that include subcontractors, and that would include support services from suppliers.
Following the October 31st launch of Grenada's 50th Independence Anniversary celebrations, the National Organizing Committee launched the school's mobile museum at the St. George's Anglican Senior School. The school was chosen because of its significance as one of the first education institutions in Grenada. The school's mobile museum seeks to foster deeper understanding and appreciation of our island's history among the nation's students. Head of the National Organizing Committee Secretariat, Gail Purcell, says the idea for the mobile museum was born out of discussions that happened among NOC members and the work of many of our educators, historians, and people of our heritage who serve on subcommittees of the NOC.
Our aim through this initiative is to nurture knowledgeable, engaged, and prideful citizens. Those are big words, but we want you, our young people, who are our future, to have the knowledge of where you came from. And we want you to be engaged in that history. We want you to learn that history, and we want you to live it. And we want you to exemplify pride when you talk and you think about our history. So that's what this project is all about. So you are our citizens of tomorrow, and you will be the ones who are our children of today who will be informing the citizens of tomorrow. So you play a very important role. You are the center of what has to happen.
The mobile museum, she says, is a unique traveling exhibition that will be installed in schools throughout the state. Principal of the school, Nigel DeGale, expressed his gratitude to the NOC for choosing his institution to launch a project that he considers is one of greatness in an institution of greatness.
The primary school of Tubal Uriah's Buzz Butler, who was jailed in Trinidad for fighting for workers' rights, like Mandela on an island for about 7 years. We remember Tubal Uriah's Buzz Butler, who was a student right here. We also remember architects of the revolution like Bernard Code, of course. We remember doctors like Beverly Nelson, Dr. Marisho and others. And of course, many of the outstanding sports people and politicians like Peter David come right down to Nigel DeGale. This school is a school of history because of the Anglican Church. Education of poor people and slaves began in around 1823. And the Anglican school in St. George's was a place where youngsters were taught. And it became Heinz School later on. So this is the first institution of learning in Grenada.
The major story for December is a presentation of the billion-dollar budget by Minister for Finance, Honorable Dennis Cornwall. He presented a fiscal package of $1,656,356,499, which he said will put the country on a path towards resilience, empowerment, and growth. The fiscal package represents government's strategic commitment to economic growth and overall enhancement and was presented under the theme, Grenada at 50, empowering our people, transforming our nation. The top 3 ministerial allocations were education, youth, sports and culture, which has been allocated $240.5 million, compared with $193.9 million allocated in 2023. This represents an increase of $46.6 million. $117.9 million has been allocated to the health sector, which represents an increase of $3.7 million, while the Ministry of Agriculture has received $49.2 million, which represents a significant increase from the $39.4 million in 2023. During the Senate debate following the presentation of the budget, Education Minister Senator David Andrew says the budget for education was created with several critical targets in mind.
We find ourselves grappling with complex challenges that impede the full realization of our educational aspirations. Although we acknowledge the groundwork laid by our predecessors, we cannot deny, we must candidly admit that several barriers to education persist. Programs like SEED, Uniform Assistance, and AID underscore the profound socioeconomic challenges faced by numerous families in our nation. What would be the good of interventions if the single mother cannot afford the fees? Can learning even occur if the roof of persons remain leaking? Madam President, show me a child who will learn and learn well if he is hungry every day.
One of the key initiatives Senator Andrews says includes universal secondary education and education financing.
Access to education for all. We stepped beyond the barriers, the psychological hindrances that persons felt because they didn't make it, they couldn't get the scores, and so they had to be retained, detained, kept back. They were not bright, they were dunce, and all the kind of pejorative names that they were called. We took the decision to ensure that in keeping with SDG 4 and the development goals, that we give all students getting to 12 plus access to secondary education. I am confident, Madam President, we have made the right move and we are heading in the right direction, and there is more to come.
A new minimum wage order will take effect in Grenada from January 1st, 2024. The first in 12 years. It will mean an increase in minimum wage across all sectors that are currently in the legislation, along with the inclusion of other sectors that were not treated under the minimum wages order. During a press conference, Senator the Honorable Claudette Joseph, Attorney General and Minister for Labor and Consumer Affairs, said the Minimum Wages Committee, led by Dr. Curlin Gilchrist, held a number of consultations where the data received were all carefully analyzed, resulting in the final document.
In some instances, we have 100% increase. Some instances, it's less. And in other instances, we have increases that reflect really what the market conditions are now, bearing in mind that these wages were adjusted 12 years ago. So some sectors have moved on and have left the minimum wages order behind. So for example, the going rate, the minimum at which a bus conductor, you would find a bus conductor working now, is around $60, $60 to $65. That's the market. That's what the market is demanding now. But in the current legislation, it's still at 35.
In keeping with the rate of inflation and what the market is demanding in some instances, Senator Joseph says the minimum wages were adjusted in line with what the market is currently saying.
We have industrial workers. All of them will have the minimum wages included, and these industrial workers include machine operators, cutters, and mechanics and cleaners. So we have $100 a day for mechanics, $85 a day for cutters, machine operators $70 a day, and cleaners $60 a day. Clerical workers, so these are store assistants, administrative clerks, cashiers, receptionists, and so minimum wage $1,200 a month. You will see some Some rates are quoted by the day, some by the month, and some by the hour. And that reflects how the industry operates and how the industry compensates its workers, how the particular sector traditionally compensate its workers.
There has also been an increase in the daily hourly rate for security guards and domestic workers. Media workers, early childhood caregivers, and sanitation workers are among the new inclusions on the minimum wage order. Government, through the Grenada Office of Creative Affairs, is making available $2 million AC for people in the creative industry to be able to access financing for the ventures. This with the launch of the Cultural and Creative Industries Business Development Fund in partnership with the Grenada Development Bank. $1 million has been set aside for the purpose of loans and $500,000 each for grants and business support vouchers. This is a fulfillment of a promise to ensure access to financing for creatives, a need which was recognized at the first Creative Symposium held at the Radisson Resort earlier this year. Mr. Orlando Romain, advisor with responsibility for the creative economy, gave a breakdown of how the funds will be disbursed.
This Business Development Fund is broken up into 3 components. The first being a concessionary small loan, soft loan, which is targeted at businesses that are solely for profit. The initial interest rate is 2%, with a maximum amount of $50,000. The second component is a grant, which is tailored towards the not-for-profit organizations, the dance associations, the music associations, the theater companies that aren't really in the business solely for profit making, but do provide a significant social good and needs resources to ensure that they can enhance the delivery of their services. And the third component, which I'm very interested in, is the business support voucher. We recognize that a lot of persons will have ideas, they have creative talents, but they have absolutely no business skills. They may go to a bank and the bank will say to them, you need to do a business plan. They don't know how to do the business plan and they have no financing to hire somebody to do the business plan. This particular business voucher is designed to address those particular needs so that persons who have the ambition to start creative businesses can have a starting point to work from with the professional development of business plans. For those who already start businesses, they can use this voucher to improve on the operational needs and or marketing.
Minister for the Creative Economy, Honorable Lennox Andrews, reminded of government's commitment to develop the country with people being at the center of that development.
We must see our people in that development process from 2 angles. The first is that our people must be the object of development, which means that all development benefits must fall and all development must be for them. But secondly, and very importantly, our people must be the subject of development, which means that they must take charge. They must be consciously involved in the development process, and they must lead and direct and manage and control and take charge of that development process. In fact, know that we are approaching independence. One aspect of the independence that we have to work towards ensuring is economic independence. And economic independence means that as a people, we must be in a position where we can not just simply produce goods and services for our consumption, but be able to pay for those goods and services that we consume, but we don't produce.
General Manager at the GDB, Royston Kamabach, says they have put measures in effect to ensure that the system is efficient and caters to the needs of those seeking loans.
This program sits bang in the middle of what the GDB have actually set out to do, to provide, financial services for persons who may not ordinarily get loans from commercial banks. And as Orlando said earlier, I think what happens is that some of the persons in the creative industries, maybe the commercial banks, don't even really understand what they do, right? So we see this as really an opportunity to partner with the Office of Creative Affairs. And we have been having lots of discussions around exactly how we're going to do it. And internally, I've been having discussions with my team to make sure that the process is actually streamlined and that when persons actually come to the bank, persons don't get frustrated. So the aim is that persons will come, they will apply, they will come with all the documents, of course, and that it will be a very streamlined approach.
The National Organizing Committee is keeping Grenadians abreast of the activities to be staged for Grenada's 50th independence anniversary, which are expected to run for 1 year. The Jubilee celebrations, which kicked off on October 31st, set the stage for all exciting events and activities to follow.
On January 3rd, we will have the unveiling of the CARICOM roundabout, and then we'll roll into on January 19th, where we have our youth symposium. And then we go into January 20th is the first leg of the Independence Calypso Monarch competition. That's the semi-finals. Well, actually, it's not the first leg, it's the second leg. The first leg is the registration, which is currently open as we speak, but we'll hear a little bit more about that. But the first performances, public performances, will be on January 20th at the La Sagesse playing field for the semi-finals. And then we have our Golden Voices of Faith, our Jubilee edition of our gospel concert will take place on the 21st of January. That will be in Progress Park in St. Andrew. The 27th, that's when we will crown our king for the Independence Calypso Monarch competition. So it's going to be revving up the excitement. On the 28th, we'll be rolling out our sports event, which will be the Round the Island Flag Relay. And that is an interesting quadrathlon event. So we're most common or most familiar with a triathlon, but this event is a quadrathlon, meaning it has 4 sporting disciplines that will be competing in a very interesting combination of activity that will hit throughout the island. On the 30th, we will be launching our 50th Independence Historic and Art Exhibition, so we can look out for that.
Head of the NOC Secretariat is Gail Purcell. The excitement will continue with an Independence Expo on the Carnage on February 2nd.
On the 2nd of February, I jump back a little bit, but to come back forward, the 2nd of February, we have the Up From Here concert, which is going to be held at the National Stadium. It's an open event, and it's going to be, it's all of our rich entertainers and performers who are going to be taking part on a national stage and coming together for a great and a fantastic event and a showcase of our talent that we have here. And of course, on the 3rd of February is the Governor General's Gala and Cocktail event, which will take place at the Radisson Beach Resort. On the 4th of February, we have our ecumenical service, which you will hear further details about, but we really want to take the opportunity to extend the invitation to the general public to use this as an opportunity for us to come together as a nation and commend our future into his hands as we move forward.
Meanwhile, an increase in prize monies has been announced for Calypsonians participating in the Jubilee Calypso Monarch competition. Creative Director for the 50th Anniversary Celebrations, Ricardo Keynes Douglas, says the deadline for receiving entries is January 4th. The semi-final will be held at the La Sagesse playing field on January 20th and the final on January 27th.
The theme is one people, one journey, one future. So that is what you're writing about. We try not to be nothing political. It's all about being celebrating wonderful 50 years of Grenada. It's all very positive, high energy, and wonderful. Okay, prizes have gone up this year for the 50th, and it's 15,000 for the first prize, 15,000, 12,000 for the second prize, 10,000 for the third prize, and 8,000 for the fourth prize. And of course, there will be appearance fees.
The Jubilee celebrations will also see the return of the National Honors and Awards, which will be held in accordance with the National Honors and Awards Act of 2007.
The Honors and Awards Committee invites the public to submit the name of a person who is deserving of recognition for distinguished, outstanding, or meritorious services or achievements, or for gallantry. You should include the date and place of birth, the place of residence, marital status, and a short testimony, I'll say that again, a short testimony on why this individual is deserving of an honor or award. Nominations should be submitted to the National Honors and Awards Committee care of the Governor-General's Office, and emailed to patogg@gov.gd. I'll repeat, patogg@gov.gd. Deadline for applications or submissions is January the 5th, 2024 at 4 p.m.
Jacqueline Alexis, Chair of the National Celebrations Committee. To continue on the path of providing access to water in Grenadian households, members of the lower house passed the National Water and Sewage Authority Amendment Bill 2023 in the final month of the year. The bill seeks to amend the National Water and Sewage Authority Act so that unpaid water and sewage rates and charges are no longer a lien against the premises in respect of which the debt is incurred. The bill does not address the issue of land ownership, but the right to water access, and supports the St. David pilot program WASH, Water Access Sanitation in Homes. The WASH program will give access to water in homes by 2027. MP for St. George Northeast, Honorable Ron Redhead, presented the bill to the lower house, saying that regardless of ownership, a citizen can apply for water connectivity, a very crucial step in helping families to access water.
Mr. Speaker, the reason why we must amend this act is that the government of Grenada has embarked upon a joint initiative with an entity called Nation Builders. That initiative is known as the WASH program, which aims to provide every household in Grenada with access to clean running water and adequate sanitation facilities by year 2027. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, 98% of Grenada is with a water connection. And if we are aiming by 2027 to achieve this full, absolute connection, we believe this is something that is credible. We believe that this is something that we can do. So for us to achieve the goal, to have all homes with a running water connection, regardless of whether the occupants of the home are the legal owners of the premises, we need to amend Section 35, subsection 4 of the Principal Act, which prevents the objective altogether.
Former Minister of Youth, Sports and Community Development and Member of Parliament for St. Patrick East, Adrian Spaceman Mitchell, was laid to rest on Thursday, 7 December, following an official funeral service at the Holy Family Catholic Church, Riverside, St. Patrick. Many paid tribute, reflecting on the life and legacy of a man who devoted his life to nation building, with specific emphasis on youth and sports. Tributes came from near and far as the former MP touched the lives of many Grenadians at home and in the diaspora. Honorable Deacon Mitchell, Prime Minister of Grenada, were among those who expressed profound condolences to the family and friends of Adrian Mitchell. PM Mitchell reflected on the soft-spoken demeanor of Adrian Mitchell and said his deep-rooted community spirit are features which stood out to him and many others. Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, former teacher of Adrian Spaceman Mitchell and political leader of the new National Party, under whose administration he served, said Adrian Mitchell was not only his student but a real friend. Adrian Mitchell had a strong influence within the St. Patrick East constituency and was the driving force behind the development of Hard Rock Football Club. Mr. Gavin Charles, member of the Hard Rock Football Club, said despite his health challenges, he remained the CEO of the club for 36 years, from its formation in 1987 until his passing on November 12th. Adrian Spaceman Mitchell died at General Hospital on November 12th at the age 71. That brings us to the end of GIS Year in Review. I am Sherry Ann Noel. On behalf of the entire production team, my co-presenters, and the entire staff of the Government Information Service, we thank you for viewing and wish you a happy and prosperous 2024.